When a single dad's birthday joke turned into a 48-hour marriage contract with the most powerful CEO in the city, he had no idea he was signing up to take down a conspiracy that could destroy everything she'd built. Noah Reed walked into that lakeside party just to drop off paperwork. He walked out wearing a wedding ring and a target on his back. The woman who never smiled chose him. The board that never lost is coming for them both. This is the story of how a fake marriage became the realest thing either of them had ever fought for. Stay until the end, hit that like button, and comment what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Noah Reed didn't believe in fate, destiny, or coincidences that changed your life in a single night. He believed in alarm clocks, grocery lists, and getting his daughter to school on time with her homework actually completed. He believed in showing up, doing the work, and keeping your head down. That's how you survived as a single dad working 60-hour weeks in a logistics company where nobody knew your name unless something went wrong. So when he pulled his 15-year-old sedan into the circular driveway of the Holloway estate on a Friday night in late September, under a sky the color of crushed sapphires, he had absolutely no intention of staying longer than it took to hand over the quarterly distribution report his boss had forgotten in the chaos of party preparations. The estate wasn't just nice. It was the kind of place that made you aware of every scuff on your shoes, every thread coming loose from your jacket. Soft golden light spilled from floor-to-ceiling windows. A live jazz quartet played something smooth and expensive on the stone terrace. People in clothes that cost more than his monthly rent drifted like elegant ghosts between the catered food stations and the infinity pool that seemed to pour straight into the darkening lake beyond. Noah killed the engine and sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel. Just hand it over. Say happy birthday if she's there. Leave. He'd met Claire Holloway exactly 4 times in the 3 years he'd worked for Holloway Freight and Logistics. Twice in passing during company-wide meetings where she stood at the front of the room in tailored suits that could cut glass, speaking in that calm, precise voice that made grown men straighten their spines. Once in an elevator where she'd nodded politely and he'd nearly dropped his coffee. And once when she'd personally approved his request for flexible hours after his daughter Mia's school had changed their schedule. She'd looked him in the eye, asked him one question about what he needed, and signed the approval without hesitation. She didn't smile much. She didn't need to. Claire Holloway was the kind of woman who commanded rooms just by entering them. And this was her birthday party, her 40th, according to the office gossip. Noah grabbed the folder from the passenger seat, stepped out into the warm September evening, and started up the stone walkway. Music wrapped around him. Laughter drifted from the terrace. Someone was telling a story about a villa in Tuscany. He didn't belong here. A woman in a black dress and a headset intercepted him at the door. "Good evening. Name?" "Oh, I'm just dropping something off for Ms. Holloway. Work thing." The woman's smile was professionally immovable. "I'll take it to her. It's kind of..." She specifically asked for the physical copy tonight. That was a lie, but a small one. His boss had asked. Claire probably didn't even know it existed. The woman hesitated, then spoke into her headset. A moment later, she nodded. "Second terrace, straight through, past the main room." Noah moved through the house like a man trying not to touch anything. Marble floors. Art that probably had insurance policies. A staircase that curved like something out of a movie. He passed clusters of guests, board members, investors, people whose names appeared in business journals. A few glanced at him with polite confusion. He found the second terrace exactly where she'd said. And he found Claire Holloway standing alone at the railing, looking out over the lake. She wore a dress the color of midnight, simple, elegant, devastating. Her dark hair was pulled back, revealing the sharp lines of her face, the kind of bone structure that made photographers weep. She held a glass of champagne loosely in one hand, untouched. For a moment, Noah considered just leaving the folder on the nearby table and disappearing. Then she turned. "Mr. Reed." Her voice was quieter than he'd expected, almost warm. "I didn't think you'd come. I'm not staying. I just have the Q3 distribution report. Henderson said you needed it tonight." Henderson is drunk somewhere inside and has been for the last hour. The corner of her mouth lifted slightly. He definitely didn't say that. Noah felt heat crawl up his neck. I'll leave this here. You drove all the way out here on a Friday night to deliver a report I don't actually need until Monday?" I was told it was urgent. By Henderson. Yes, ma'am. Don't call me ma'am. It makes me feel ancient. She took a sip of champagne, her eyes never leaving his face. How old are you, Mr. Reed? The question caught him off guard. 32. And you have a daughter? Yes, Mia. She's 8. I remember. You requested the schedule adjustment. Claire set her glass down on the railing. You're a good father. Something in the way she said it, like she was stating a fact, not offering a compliment, made his throat tight. I try. Most people just try to look good. You actually do the work. She stepped closer, and Noah became acutely aware of how small the terrace suddenly felt. Do you know why I approved your request in 30 seconds when HR wanted a 2-week review process? No, ma'am, Ms. Holloway. Because I spent 15 years watching my father choose this company over everything else, including me, including my mother, including every birthday, every holiday, every moment that mattered. Her voice was still calm, still controlled, but there was something underneath it now, something sharp. When someone asks me for time to be a parent, I don't make them beg for it. Noah didn't know what to say to that. Music drifted from inside the house, something slow and old-fashioned. Through the windows, he could see people dancing. Claire looked back at the lake. The breeze caught a strand of her hair. Do you know what the worst thing about turning 40 is, Mr. Reed? No. Everyone assumes you have everything you want. They throw you a party. They bring expensive wine and tell you how successful you are. They never ask if you're happy. She laughed once, soft and bitter. They never ask if you're alone. The words hung between them like smoke. Noah had been alone since Mia's mother left when their daughter was 6 months old. He knew exactly what Claire Holloway meant. The difference was, nobody threw him parties. I should go, he said quietly. My daughter's at my sister's, and dance with me. Noah froze. I'm sorry? Claire turned to face him fully. In the soft light from the house, her eyes were almost black. It's my birthday. I'm standing on my own terrace at my own party, and I've danced with exactly 0 people because everyone here either wants something from me or is afraid of me. Sometimes both. She extended one hand. One dance. Then you can take your report and go back to your real life. This was insane. This was his boss. This was Claire Holloway, the woman who made investors sweat and turned quarterly earnings calls into bloodbaths when the numbers disappointed her. But there was something in her face, something vulnerable and fierce at the same time, that made him take her hand. Her fingers were cool and strong. They moved to the music drifting from inside, a slow waltz that Noah barely knew how to follow. He put one hand carefully on her waist. She stepped closer than he'd expected, fitting into the space between them like she'd been there before. You're tense, she said. I'm terrified. Of me? Of stepping on your feet? Of someone seeing this and thinking, I don't know, something that isn't true? Claire's hand tightened slightly on his shoulder. What if I don't care what they think? You're the CEO. You have to care. That's where you're wrong, Mr. Reed. I have to act like I care. There's a difference. She was quiet for a moment, moving with a grace that made Noah feel like a wooden puppet. Then, do you know what they're planning? The question was so sudden, so strange that Noah stumbled slightly. Claire steadied him without comment. The board, the investors, the people drinking my champagne and eating my food and waiting for me to fail. I don't know what you mean. My father built this company from nothing. When he died 3 years ago, he left it to me with a trust structure that was supposed to protect it, but he also left a clause. Her voice was still calm, but Noah could feel the tension in her body now. If I'm not married by my 40th birthday, the board has the option to initiate a vote of no confidence. 60 days to find a husband, or they can remove me and install someone they control. Noah stopped dancing. That's insane. That's patriarchy with a legal seal. Claire didn't stop moving, so Noah had to start again or let go. My father loved me, Mr. Reed, but he didn't trust me. Not really. He thought a woman alone was a woman vulnerable, so he built in insurance. But you're the best thing that's ever happened to this company. Everyone knows that. The numbers don't matter, not to James Carver. The name came out like a curse. He's been circling for 6 months, buying up board seats, making alliances, waiting for tomorrow. Tomorrow. My birthday. The deadline. Claire looked up at him, and for the first time Noah saw fear in her eyes. Real, raw fear. In 48 hours, if I don't have a husband, he wins. He gets the company. He gets everything. The music swelled. Inside, someone laughed too loudly. Noah's mind was racing. Can't you fight it? Get a lawyer? There has to be. I have 12 lawyers. They've been fighting it for 3 years. The trust is ironclad. She stopped moving, her hand still on his shoulder, her face inches from his. So I made a decision. What decision? I'm getting married. The world seemed to tilt sideways. You're what? Tonight. Tomorrow at the latest. Claire's eyes searched his face. To someone who doesn't want my money. Someone who won't try to control me. Someone I can trust to walk away when this is over. Noah's heart was hammering now. Ms. Holloway. Someone who already knows how to protect something without asking for credit. Her hand moved from his shoulder to his chest, right over his racing heartbeat. Someone like you. The words hit him like a physical blow. He stepped back, nearly tripping over his own feet. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. You don't even know me. I know you're a single father who works 60 hours a week and still makes time for parent-teacher conferences. I know you requested flex time, not a raise, even though you're underpaid. I know you didn't come to this party for networking or free food. You came to deliver a report you thought mattered. Claire moved closer again, her voice dropping lower. I know you don't want anything from me, Mr. Reed, and that makes you the only person here I can trust. Noah's hands were shaking. This is crazy. You can't just... People don't do this. People do this all the time. They just call it networking, or strategic alliances, or mergers. Claire's smile was sharp now, dangerous. I'm just being honest about what it is. I have a daughter. I know. She's 8 years old. She's been through enough. I can't bring this kind of chaos into her life. Then don't. Claire stepped back, giving him space. Keep it private. Keep it simple. Marriage license, courthouse ceremony, separate residences. No media, no performance, no disruption to your life. 6 months, maybe a year. Long enough to satisfy the trust and stabilize the board. Then a quiet divorce and you walk away with enough money to send your daughter to any college she wants. Noah's head was spinning. Why me? Why not someone from your world, someone who understands this kind of thing? Because everyone in my world wants something. Power, status, access, control. Claire's eyes were locked on his. You just want to get home to your daughter. That's the only thing I can trust. The music inside ended. Applause drifted out. Noah looked at this woman, this powerful, brilliant, terrifying woman, and saw something he recognized. Desperation. The kind of desperation that came from being backed into a corner with no good options. He thought about Mia, about the custody battle he'd barely won, about the child support he sent faithfully every month to a woman who'd walked away from their daughter without looking back. About every night he'd stayed up working double shifts so his daughter could have new shoes, a warm coat, a birthday present that didn't come from a thrift store. He thought about protection, about doing what you had to do. And then, because he was tired and overwhelmed, and because sometimes your mouth moves before your brain catches up, Noah Reed said the stupidest thing he'd ever said in his life. So what? Should I just marry you? The words came out like a joke, like the kind of exhausted, half-hysterical thing you say when the universe has officially lost its mind. Claire Holloway didn't laugh. She didn't smile. She looked at him with those dark, fierce eyes and said, very calmly, very clearly, My place, tonight. Bring a ring. Noah's stomach dropped into his shoes. Wait, I didn't mean... Yes, you did. Claire picked up her champagne glass, drained it in one swallow, and set it down with a soft click. Or you wouldn't have said it. People joke about things they're actually considering. I'm not considering liar. The word was soft, but absolute. You're thinking about your daughter's college fund, about never having to choose between her dental appointment and your rent, about security. She moved closer one more time, so close Noah could smell her perfume, something dark and expensive. I'm offering you 6 months of your life, Mr. Reed. In exchange, I'm offering you a future where you never have to be afraid again. His mouth was dry. I don't know you. You will. Claire pulled a card from somewhere in her dress and pressed it into his hand. That's my private address. The gate code is 1121. I'll expect you by midnight. She turned toward the house, then paused. And Mr. Reed? Yeah? Don't bring flowers, don't bring wine, just bring the ring and a decision. She looked back over her shoulder, and for just a moment the fear was visible again. I don't have time for romance. I need a soldier. If that's not you, then walk away now and we'll pretend this never happened. Then she was gone, disappearing into her own party like smoke. Noah stood alone on the terrace, holding a business card and a report nobody needed, while his entire life restructured itself around a joke that wasn't a joke anymore. His phone buzzed, a text from his sister. Mia's asleep. Take your time. The universe apparently had a terrible sense of humor. But Noah didn't go home. He sat in his car in the Holloway Estates parking area for 20 minutes, staring at the card in his hand. The address was embossed in silver. Real silver, probably. The kind of detail that cost more than it needed to because it could. He pulled out his phone 3 times to call someone. His sister, his best friend from college, anyone who could talk him down from the ledge he was standing on. But what would he say? Hey, so my boss just proposed a marriage of convenience to save her company from a hostile takeover, and I kind of accidentally agreed, and now I need to buy a ring in the next 2 hours. Thoughts? They'd think he'd lost his mind. Maybe he had. Noah started the car and drove. Not home? Not yet. He had no idea what he was doing, but his hands seemed to have decided for him. He ended up at a 24-hour Walmart on the east side of town. The kind of place where nobody asked questions and everything was fluorescent and surreal at 10 o'clock on a Friday night. He walked past the groceries, past the electronics, straight to the jewelry counter, where a tired-looking woman with pink hair and 3 nose rings looked up from her phone. Help you? I need a ring. Engagement? Noah hesitated. Something like that. She gestured at the case. Budget? He had $400 in his checking account and another $600 in savings that was supposed to be for Mia's school supplies and winter coat. $200. The woman didn't judge, she just pulled out a tray of simple bands, silver, white gold, nothing fancy. These are all in range. You know her size? Noah had no idea what size Claire Holloway wore. Average? That's what they all say. The woman pulled out a plain silver band with a small, clear stone, probably not a real diamond, but it caught the light nicely. This one's popular, simple, classic. Doesn't scream, I bought you at Walmart. Noah almost laughed. Almost. He bought the ring. The woman wrapped it in a small velvet box that definitely cost more than the ring itself, and Noah walked back to his car with a piece of jewelry in his pocket and a decision he still didn't fully believe he was making. The drive to Claire's private residence took 30 minutes. The address led him to a gated community north of the city, the kind of place where the streets were named things like Whisper Creek Lane, and every house looked like it had been designed by someone with a graduate degree in making other people feel poor. The gate code worked. 1121, November 21st, Claire's birthday. The irony wasn't lost on him. Her house was at the end of a cul-de-sac. Modern, glass and steel, all clean lines and expensive restraint. Lights glowed softly from inside. Noah parked in the circular driveway next to a black Mercedes that probably cost more than his entire year's salary. He sat there for a full minute, breathing. You can still leave. You can still turn around. This is insane. But he thought about Mia, about the scholarship applications he'd have to fill out in a few years, about the medical bills from her broken arm last year that he was still paying off, about every time he'd had to say maybe next time when she asked for something small, about Claire Holloway's face when she'd said, I don't have time for romance. I need a soldier. He knew what it meant to fight for something, to protect someone without applause. Noah got out of the car. The front door opened before he reached it. Claire stood in the doorway, still in her midnight dress, her hair down now, falling in dark waves around her shoulders. She looked at him for a long moment, something flickering in her eyes, surprise maybe, or relief. You came. I came. Did you bring the ring? Noah pulled the velvet box from his pocket and held it up. Claire's expression didn't change, but she stepped aside. Come in. The interior of the house matched the exterior. All clean lines, minimal furniture, art on the walls that Noah couldn't begin to understand. It felt more like a museum than a home. Beautiful and cold. Claire led him to a living room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city lights. She poured 2 glasses of whiskey from a crystal decanter and handed him one. I wasn't sure you'd actually show up, she said. I wasn't sure either. What changed your mind? Noah took a sip of the whiskey. It burned going down, the good kind of burn, the kind that probably cost more than his car. You asked me if I was considering it. The truth is, I've been considering some version of this my whole life. Claire's eyebrow lifted. Marrying your boss? No, making a deal that protects the people I love. He set the glass down. I bargained with my ex's lawyer to get custody of Mia. I negotiated with my landlord to keep our apartment when I was 3 months behind on rent. I traded shifts and favors and pride to make sure my daughter had what she needed. He looked at Claire directly. This is just another negotiation, except this time the terms are actually in my favor. Something in Claire's face softened, just slightly. You understand what this is then, what it isn't. You need a shield. I need security. We're both being practical. Yes. Claire moved closer, the whiskey glass loose in her hand. But we need to be very clear about the rules, Mr. Reed. Noah. If we're doing this, you should probably use my first name. Noah. She said it carefully, like she was testing the shape of it. Here are my terms. This marriage is a legal arrangement, nothing more. We maintain separate residences. We appear together only when absolutely necessary for legal or professional reasons. No public displays of affection, no romantic expectations, no lying to each other, even when the truth is uncomfortable. Noah nodded slowly. And my terms? You have terms. Just one. He met her eyes. My daughter doesn't get hurt by this. Not emotionally, not practically, not in any way. If this puts her at risk, if media attention or board drama or any of it touches her life in a way I can't control, the deal is off. I don't care about the money. I don't care about the contract. She comes first. Claire was quiet for a long moment. Then she raised her glass. To putting what we love before what we want. Noah raised his glass and clinked it against hers. When do we do this? Tomorrow. I've already arranged for a courthouse ceremony at 10 a.m., just us and a witness. Clean and simple. And after? After, we deal with the board, we deal with Carver. We save the company. Claire's jaw tightened. And we make sure everyone who tried to destroy me regrets it. Noah saw it then, the steel underneath the elegance, the warrior underneath the CEO. Can I ask you something? He said. Yes. Why are you really doing this? I mean, you could find someone from your world, someone with connections, with power. Why choose me? Claire set her glass down and walked to the window. The city sprawled below them, a million lights in the darkness. Because everyone with power wants more of it. Everyone with connections wants to use them. She didn't look at him. My father taught me that the most dangerous deals are the ones where everyone pretends to be your friend. You're not pretending, Noah. You're making a transaction. That's the only kind of honesty I trust anymore. The words were sad and true at the same time. Noah walked over to stand beside her. For what it's worth, I think your father was wrong. About what? About you needing to be married to be trusted. About you needing anyone to validate what you've built. He looked at her profile, sharp and beautiful and tired. You're the strongest person I've ever met, Ms. Holloway. This clause is bullshit, and I'm sorry you have to deal with it. Claire turned to look at him, and for just a second, something cracked in her armor. Thank you. They stood there for a moment in the expensive silence. Then Claire straightened, the armor sliding back into place. I have one more condition. What is it? Show me the ring. Noah pulled out the velvet box and opened it. Claire looked at the simple silver band, the small clear stone, and something like a smile crossed her face. You went to Walmart. How did you? I recognized the box. She took the ring out, held it up to the light. It's perfect. It's cheap. It's honest. Claire slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit almost perfectly. Most of the rings I've been given were expensive lies. This is a cheap truth. I'll take it. She handed the box back to him, the ring still on her finger. Noah's heart was racing again. So we're really doing this. We're really doing this. Claire extended her hand. Partners? Noah shook her hand. Her grip was firm and cool. Partners. Go home, Noah. Get some sleep. I'll send a car for you at 9:30 tomorrow morning. I can drive myself. I'm sure you can, but there will be cameras. There will be questions. You'll ride with me, and we'll present a united front from the start. She walked him to the door. One more thing. Yeah? When they ask you why you married me, what will you say? Noah thought about it. About Mia. About desperation and dignity and doing what you had to do. I'll say you asked, and I said yes. That's all anyone needs to know. Claire nodded once. Good answer. Oopsie. Noah drove home in a daze. His sister was asleep on his couch when he got there, an old movie playing on mute on the TV. He woke her gently, and she blinked up at him. How was the party? Weird. Weird how? Noah almost told her, almost explained that in less than 12 hours he was going to marry his boss in a courthouse ceremony to save her company from a hostile takeover and secure his daughter's future in one incredibly stupid, incredibly calculated move. Instead, he said, I'll tell you later. Thanks for watching Mia. His sister left, and Noah stood in the doorway of his daughter's room, watching her sleep. She had her mother's blonde hair and his stubborn chin. She was curled around her favorite stuffed elephant, breathing softly. I'm doing this for you, he thought. I hope you understand someday. He didn't sleep that night. He sat at his kitchen table with a cup of coffee he didn't drink, watching the sky lighten from black to gray to pale gold. At 9 o'clock, he showered and put on the only suit he owned, the one he'd bought for his father's funeral 5 years ago. It still fit, barely. He looked at himself in the mirror and saw a man who'd made a deal with the devil. Except Claire Holloway wasn't the devil. She was just someone trying to survive in a world that wanted to destroy her for having the audacity to be powerful and female and alone. At 9:30, a black town car pulled up outside his apartment building. The driver got out, opened the door. Mr. Reed? Ms. Holloway is waiting. Noah got in. Claire sat in the back seat, dressed in a simple cream-colored dress that probably cost more than his rent. She had papers spread across her lap, contracts, NDAs, legal documents that turned a marriage into a military operation. Good morning, she said without looking up. Morning. Did you sleep? No. Neither did I. She handed him a pen and a stack of papers. Read these. Sign where indicated. These protect both of us. Financial separation, custody clauses for your daughter, termination conditions, everything. Noah read. The language was dense and technical, but the message was clear. This was a business arrangement with an exit strategy. He signed. Claire collected the papers and slid them into a leather folder. How do you feel? Like I'm about to jump off a cliff. Good. That means you're taking this seriously. She finally looked at him. Are you ready? No. Me neither. Claire smiled, and it was the saddest thing Noah had ever seen. Let's go get married. The courthouse was downtown, a gray stone building that had seen 1,000 weddings just like this, quick, practical, devoid of romance. Claire had arranged everything. The witness was her personal lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Diana, who looked at Noah like she was calculating his net worth and life expectancy. The ceremony took 7 minutes. They stood in a small room with fluorescent lights and filing cabinets. A judge with reading glasses and a kind face read the legal language. Noah said, I do. Claire said, I do. They signed papers. And just like that, Noah Reed, single father, logistics worker, man who'd never even had a serious girlfriend since Mia's mother left, was married to one of the most powerful women in the state. You may kiss the bride, the judge said. Noah looked at Claire. Claire looked at him. They'd agreed. No performance, no lies. But the judge was waiting. Claire stepped forward, rose on her toes, and pressed her lips to his for exactly 2 seconds. It was efficient, professional. It felt like signing another contract. When she pulled back, her eyes were unreadable. Congratulations, the judge said warmly. Best of luck to you both. Outside, cameras were waiting. Someone had tipped off the press, probably one of Claire's enemies, hoping to catch her in a panic, scrambling for a last-minute husband. Instead, they got Claire Holloway in a cream dress, stepping out of the courthouse with her hand in Noah's, her chin high, her expression serene. "Ms. Holloway, who is your husband?" "Ms. Holloway, how long have you been dating?" "Is this connected to the board vote?" Claire stopped at the top of the courthouse steps. Noah stood beside her, his hand sweating in hers, his heart trying to escape his chest. She looked directly at the cameras and said, calmly and clearly, "This is Noah Reed. He's my husband. That's all you need to know." Then she turned and walked to the car, pulling Noah with her. They rode in silence for 5 minutes. Then Claire let go of his hand and exhaled slowly. "That's done." "Your phone's ringing," Noah said. Claire looked at her phone. 23 missed calls. She silenced it. "The board is going to lose their minds." "Is that good?" "That's perfect." She looked at him, and for the first time since they'd met, she smiled, really smiled. "You just saved my company, Noah Reed. I hope you're ready for the war that comes next." Noah looked at the ring on his finger, a matching, simple silver band Claire had slipped on during the ceremony. "I'm ready," he lied. But as the car carried them away from the courthouse and toward whatever came next, Noah realized something terrifying. The joke that had crossed the line wasn't the beginning of the story. It was the end of his old life, and the beginning of something he couldn't control, couldn't predict, and couldn't walk away from anymore. Claire Holloway was his wife, and somewhere in the city, James Carver was already planning his next move. The news broke before they made it back to Claire's house. Noah's phone started buzzing first. Texts from coworkers he hadn't spoken to in months, a missed call from his sister, 3 voicemails from numbers he didn't recognize. He stared at the screen as notifications piled up like a car accident in slow motion. Claire's phone never stopped ringing. She'd turned off the sound, but Noah could see the screen lighting up again and again in her lap. She ignored all of it, staring out of the window at the passing city with the same unreadable expression she'd worn on the courthouse steps. "How bad is it going to get, but?" Noah asked quietly. Claire didn't look at him. "Worse than you're imagining. Better than I feared." "That's not reassuring." "It's not supposed to be reassuring. It's supposed to be true." She finally glanced at her phone, scrolled through something, then set it face down. "By tonight, every business journal in the country will have run the story. By tomorrow morning, they'll have dug into your entire life. Where you grew up, where you went to school, every job you've ever had, every parking ticket." Noah's stomach tightened. "What about Mia?" "I told my legal team to put a protective order in place. Any journalist who contacts your daughter or her school gets sued into the ground." Claire's voice was flat, matter-of-fact. "Your sister, too. I won't have them terrorizing your family." "You can do that?" "I have 12 lawyers and a vindictive streak. Yes, I can do that." She looked at him properly now. "You need to tell your sister, today, before she sees it on the news." Noah's hands felt numb. "Tell her what? That I married my boss in a courthouse ceremony to stop a corporate takeover? She'll think I've lost my mind." "Then let her think that. But don't let her find out from strangers." Claire's expression softened slightly. "Trust is currency, Noah. Spend it before someone steals it." The car pulled up to Claire's house. The driver opened the door, and they stepped out into the midday sun. It felt surreal. The same house he'd stood in front of 12 hours ago, except now he was married to the woman who lived there. Now he had a ring on his finger that felt like it weighed 10 pounds. Inside, Claire kicked off her heels and immediately started pacing. The elegant, controlled CEO from the courthouse dissolved into something sharper, more restless. She pulled her hair out of its careful style and started talking rapidly, more to herself than to Noah. "Carver will make his move within 48 hours. He has to. The trust clause is satisfied now, which means his leverage just evaporated. He'll pivot to character assassination, attack your credibility, imply I'm desperate, suggest the marriage is fake." She stopped, turned to face Noah. "They'll call you a gold digger. They'll say I'm trying to manipulate the board. They'll make this as ugly as possible." Noah sat down on the expensive couch, feeling completely out of his depth. "So what do we do?" "We do nothing. We let them talk." Claire started pacing again. The marriage is legal, the trust requirements are met. Unless they can prove fraud, which they can't because this is a real marriage under the law, they have no grounds to challenge it. But you said Carver would attack. He will, and we'll let him. Claire smiled, and it was the smile of a woman who'd been underestimated her entire life and learned to make it a weapon. Every attack he makes, every conspiracy he spreads, every ugly rumor, it all just makes him look desperate. The board will see it. The shareholders will see it. He'll destroy his own credibility trying to destroy mine. Noah wanted to believe her, but he'd spent 32 years learning that people with power usually found a way to win, and people without it usually got crushed. "What if you're wrong?" he said quietly. Claire stopped pacing. For a long moment, she just looked at him, really looked at him, like she was trying to see past the fear to something deeper. "Then we lose," she said simply. "And you walk away with the settlement money we agreed on, and I lose everything my father built." She moved to the window, her silhouette sharp against the daylight. "But I'm not wrong, Noah. I've been playing this game since I was 25 years old. I know how these men think. I know how they move. And I know their biggest weakness." "What's that?" "They think women panic. They think we'll break under pressure, make emotional decisions, give them the ammunition they need." Claire turned back to him, her eyes fierce. "I'm not going to panic. I'm going to outthink them, outweight them, and watch them cannibalize each other, trying to get to me." Noah's phone buzzed again, his sister calling for the fourth time. "I should take this," he said. Claire nodded. "Use the study. Second door on the left." Noah found the study, all dark wood and leather chairs and books that had probably never been read, and closed the door. He answered the phone. "What the hell is going on?" His sister's voice was tight with worry. "I just saw something online about you getting married to Claire Holloway. Tell me that's not true." "It's true." Silence. Then, "Are you insane?" "Probably." "Noah," his sister's voice cracked. "You've known this woman for what, 3 years? You've talked to her maybe 5 times? And now you're married? It's complicated." "Complicated? Complicated is forgetting to pay your electric bill. I don't even know what this is." She took a shaky breath. "Does this have something to do with money? Did she pay you?" "No, not like that." Noah ran his hand through his hair. "She needed help. I needed security. We made a deal." "A deal?" His sister laughed, and it sounded like breaking glass. "You made a deal that involves marrying someone you don't love? What about Mia? What about—" "This is for Mia." Noah's voice came out harder than he intended. "Everything I do is for Mia. You know that. And you think marrying a stranger is going to help her? I think not worrying about rent is going to help her. I think having money for college is going to help her. I think giving her a future where she doesn't have to watch me break my back for minimum wage is going to help her." Noah closed his eyes. "I know what this looks like. I know it's crazy. But I'm doing this with my eyes open, and I'm doing it because it's the best option I've got." His sister was quiet for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. "Do you trust her?" Noah thought about Claire standing alone on that terrace, admitting she was afraid. About her face when she'd said nobody asked if she was happy. About the way she'd looked at him in the courthouse like he was the only solid thing in a collapsing world. "Yeah," he said. "I trust her." "Okay?" His sister exhaled slowly. "Okay. But if this goes sideways, if she hurts you or uses you or puts Mia in danger, it won't. You don't know that." "No," Noah admitted. "I don't. But I'm choosing to believe it anyway." They talked for another 10 minutes. His sister made him promise to bring Mia over for dinner that weekend, to let her explain to their niece what was happening in words an 8-year-old could understand. Noah agreed, hung up, and sat in the expensive silence of Claire's study, wondering what the hell he was going to tell his daughter. When he came back to the living room, Claire was on her laptop, her face illuminated by the screen's cold light. She looked up as he entered. "How did it go?" "She thinks I'm insane." "Most sane people would agree with her." Claire closed the laptop. "Are you hungry? I haven't eaten since yesterday." They ended up in Claire's kitchen, all marble countertops and stainless steel appliances that looked like they'd never been used. Claire opened the refrigerator, stared at its mostly empty contents, and laughed. I have champagne, sparkling water, and what I think used to be yogurt. Very domestic. I eat at the office, or I don't eat. She closed the refrigerator. There's a Thai place that delivers. They know my order. They sat at her kitchen island eating pad Thai from takeout containers, and it was so absurdly normal that Noah almost forgot they'd gotten married 4 hours ago. Claire ate quickly, efficiently, like someone who'd learned to treat food as fuel rather than pleasure. Tell me about your daughter, she said suddenly. Noah looked up, surprised. What do you want to know? Everything. If we're going to do this, if people are going to ask questions, I should know the basics. Claire set down her fork. What is she like? What scares her? What makes her laugh? So Noah told her. About Mia's obsession with elephants. About how she still slept with a nightlight because she'd watched a scary movie at a friend's house and hadn't been the same since. About her terrible knock-knock jokes and her surprising skill at math. About the way she hummed when she drew pictures, completely absorbed in her own small world. Claire listened without interrupting, her eyes on his face the entire time. She sounds remarkable, Claire said when he finished. She's the best thing I've ever done. And her mother? Noah's jaw tightened. Left when Mia was 6 months old. Said she wasn't ready to be a parent. I haven't heard from her in 7 years except through lawyers demanding I stop asking for child support. He took a drink of water. She signed away her parental rights 3 years ago. It's just me and Mia now. Claire was quiet for a moment. My mother left when I was 12. Not physically. She stayed in the house, attended the right parties, smiled for the cameras. But she left. Checked out. Decided my father's company was more important than his daughter, and she'd rather be Mrs. Holloway than my mother. She pushed her food around with her fork. I used to think it was my fault, that I wasn't enough to make her stay. That's not how it works. I know that now. But 12-year-old me didn't. Claire looked at him. Your daughter is lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have her. They finished eating in comfortable silence. Then Claire's phone rang. The actual ringtone this time, not just a buzz. She looked at the screen and her expression hardened. It's my head of security. I need to take this. She disappeared into another room. Noah cleaned up the takeout containers, feeling strange and out of place in this enormous house that was somehow connected to him now through a piece of paper and a 7-minute ceremony. When Claire came back, her face was grim. What's wrong? Carver just called an emergency board meeting. Monday morning. He's forcing a vote of confidence. She set her phone down carefully, like it might explode. He's moving faster than I expected. I thought the marriage satisfied the trust clause. It does, but the trust clause isn't his only weapon. Claire started pacing again. The board can still remove me with a 2/3 vote if they believe I'm acting against the company's interests. Carver's going to argue that this marriage, a sudden, secret ceremony with an employee, proves I'm unstable, making reckless decisions, that I can't be trusted to lead. Noah felt cold. Can he win? He has 6 votes he controls directly. He needs 8 for a 2/3 majority. There are 3 board members who are undecided. They've been watching from the sidelines, waiting to see which way the wind blows. Claire stopped pacing, her hands clenched into fists. If he convinces them, I'm done. So we convince them first. With what? A marriage certificate and good intentions? Claire laughed bitterly. They want proof that I'm stable, that this wasn't desperation, that you're not just some random employee I bribed into a wedding. Noah stood up. Then we give them proof. What kind of proof? The kind that shows I'm not here for your money. The kind that shows this is real. Noah moved closer to her. You said people think you panic under pressure. So let's show them you don't. Let's show them you made a calculated decision to partner with someone who brings value to your life, not just a legal status. Claire stared at him. And how exactly do we show that? I work for your company. I know logistics. I know distribution. I know where the inefficiencies are, where the money gets lost, where the system breaks down. Noah's mind was racing now, pieces clicking into place. What if I wasn't just your husband? What if I was your consultant? Someone you brought in specifically because you value practical knowledge over boardroom politics? Something flickered in Claire's eyes. That could work. It's not a lie. You did marry me because I'm practical, because I see things differently than your board members. Noah felt momentum building. So let's use that. Let's make me an asset, not a liability. Claire walked to her laptop, opened it, started typing rapidly. I'd have to restructure your position, move you from general logistics to special operations, give you access to distribution data, supply chain analytics. She looked up. It would mean more hours, more work. People would question it. Let them question it. We'll have answers. For the first time since they'd left the courthouse, Claire smiled, really smiled, the kind that reached her eyes. You're either very clever or very stupid, Noah Reed. Why can't I be both? She laughed, and the sound filled the cold house with something almost like warmth. They spent the rest of the afternoon planning. Claire pulled up files on her laptop, distribution routes, warehouse efficiency reports, shipping cost analyses. Noah looked at numbers he'd only ever seen pieces of, started seeing patterns, started asking questions that made Claire's fingers fly across the keyboard. Why are we routing through Memphis for West Coast deliveries? He asked. Legacy contract from 15 years ago. That's costing you 6% on every shipment. Claire's eyes narrowed. Show me. He did. And then he showed her 3 more inefficiencies that had been bleeding money for years because nobody had questioned the systems his father had put in place. By 6 o'clock, they had a presentation. By 7, they had a strategy. By 8, Noah's brain felt like it had been put through a blender, but he also felt something he hadn't felt in years. Useful. Not just surviving, but actually contributing something that mattered. Claire ordered more food, Indian this time, and they ate while reviewing their work. This is good, Claire said, staring at the laptop screen. This is actually really good. If we can present this at the board meeting, show them you're not just a husband, but an actual asset to operations, it might not be enough, Noah interrupted. Carver's not going to care about logistics efficiency. He cares about control. Then we make him care. We make the other board members care. Claire's voice was sharp with focus. We show them that while Carver was playing political games, we were actually improving the company, making it stronger, making it more profitable. And if they don't care, Claire met his eyes, then we lose. But at least we lose fighting. Noah's phone buzzed. A text from his sister. Mia keeps asking why you're not home. What should I tell her? Reality crashed back in. I need to go, Noah said, standing up. I need to see my daughter. Claire nodded. Of course, I'll have the driver. I'll drive myself. I need to think. He grabbed his jacket. What do we tell people? About us? About where I'm living? The truth. Separate residences for now. We're taking things slowly. We're professionals who value our independence. Claire walked him to the door. But Noah? Yeah? We need to be seen together. Not a lot, but enough. Enough that it looks like a real relationship, not a contract. She hesitated. Dinner, maybe twice a week. Public places. Let people see us talking, laughing, building something. The idea of fake dates with his real wife made Noah's head hurt. Okay, yeah, we can do that. He drove home in the dark, the city lights blurring past. When he got to his apartment, his sister opened the door before he could knock. Mia was on the couch, already in her pajamas, watching a cartoon. Daddy! She jumped up and ran to him. Noah caught her, lifted her up, held her tight. She smelled like strawberry shampoo in childhood. Hey, Bug, I missed you. Aunt Sarah said you had to work late. Noah glanced at his sister. She shrugged apologetically. I did have to work, but I'm here now. He set Mia down. How about we make popcorn and watch a movie? Can we watch Moana? For the 100th time? Absolutely. His sister left after giving him a long, worried look. Noah made popcorn, settled on the couch with his daughter curled against his side, and tried to focus on the movie instead of the fact that his entire life had changed in 24 hours. Halfway through, Mia looked up at him. Daddy, why are you wearing a ring? Noah's heart stopped. He'd forgotten to take it off. It's new. Do you like it? It's pretty. Is it for work? Something like that. She accepted this without question and went back to the movie. But Noah stared at the ring on his finger and wondered how long he could keep the truth from her. How long before she saw something online, heard something at school, asked questions he didn't know how to answer. The movie ended. He tucked Mia into bed, read her a story about elephants, kissed her forehead. I love you, Bug. Love you too, Daddy. Don't work too late tomorrow. I won't. But he knew it was a lie. Tomorrow would be all work. Tomorrow would be preparation and strategy and trying to make a fake marriage look real enough to save a company he barely understood. Noah went to his own room, lay in bed, and stared at the ceiling. His phone buzzed. A text from Claire. Thank you for today. For not running. For actually helping. I know this isn't what you signed up for. He typed back. What did I sign up for? Her response came quickly. Survival. Same as me. Noah set the phone down and closed his eyes. Somewhere across the city, James Carver was planning his attack. Somewhere in a corporate office, board members were having quiet conversations about loyalty and control. Somewhere in the machine of business and power, people were making decisions that would determine whether Claire Holloway kept her company or lost everything. And Noah Reed, single father and accidental husband, was somehow in the middle of it all. He thought about Claire's face when she'd said she needed a soldier, about the way she'd looked at the Walmart ring like it was something precious, about the steel in her voice when she'd said she wasn't going to panic. Noah didn't know if they could win, but as he drifted toward sleep, his daughter safe in the next room, and a ring on his finger he was already getting used to, he realized something important. He was going to try. Not because of the money, not because of the contract, but because Claire Holloway had asked him to stand beside her, and Noah Reed had spent his entire life being the person who showed up when someone needed him. Even if that someone was his boss, even if the fight was one he didn't fully understand, even if the whole thing was insane. Outside, the city hummed with traffic and light, and 1,000 other stories unfolding in the darkness. But in Noah's small apartment, there was only the quiet sound of his daughter breathing and the weight of a promise he'd made without fully understanding what it would cost. The weekend passed in a blur of preparation and pretense. Saturday morning, Claire texted him, brunch, the Riverside Cafe, 11 a.m., bring your smile. Noah showed up in khakis and a button-down shirt, feeling underdressed the moment he saw Claire waiting at an outdoor table in a white sundress that probably cost more than his entire wardrobe. She had sunglasses on, her hair loose around her shoulders, looking nothing like the CEO who'd paced her living room planning corporate warfare. You look nervous, she said as he sat down. There are 3 people with cameras across the street. I know, that's the point. Claire smiled at him, and it looked almost natural. Order whatever you want. Talk to me like we're actually married. This is a performance, Noah. Make it believable. So he did. They ate overpriced eggs and drank coffee that tasted like liquid gold, and Noah found himself actually talking about Mia's school project, about the apartment's broken dishwasher, about normal life things that felt surreal in this context. Claire listened, asked questions, laughed at his stories about Mia's terrible jokes. To anyone watching, they looked like a couple. A real couple. When they left, Claire took his hand. Her fingers were warm and strong, and Noah tried not to think about how natural it felt. Sunday, she invited him to her house again. We need to sync our stories, she said. Board meeting is tomorrow. We can't contradict each other. They spent hours rehearsing answers to questions that might come up. How did they meet? At work, but they'd only gotten close recently. Why the sudden marriage? When you know, you know. What did Noah bring to Claire's life? Perspective. Grounding. Honesty. What do I say you bring to my life? Noah asked. Claire thought about it. Security, stability, a future for Mia that doesn't depend on luck. It was the most honest thing either of them had said all weekend. Monday morning arrived like a storm on the horizon. Noah put on his funeral suit again. Claire wore armor in the form of a charcoal gray suit that could have cut diamonds. They rode to the company headquarters in silence, Claire reviewing notes, Noah trying to remember how to breathe. The building was all glass and steel, the kind of place where Noah usually entered through the employee entrance in the back. Today, they walked through the front lobby together, and everyone stared. Claire didn't acknowledge the stares. She walked like she owned the building, which she did, with Noah beside her trying to match her confidence. The boardroom was on the 15th floor. Claire's assistant met them outside, handed Claire a tablet, whispered something that made Claire's jaw tighten. What is it? Noah asked. Carver brought lawyers, 3 of them. Claire's eyes were hard. He's not just questioning my judgment, he's preparing for a legal battle. Noah's stomach dropped. Can he do that? He can try. Claire straightened her shoulders. Stay close to me. Don't speak unless directly addressed. Let me handle this. The boardroom was exactly what Noah expected. A massive table, leather chairs, windows overlooking the city. 12 people were already seated, all of them in expensive suits, all of them watching Claire and Noah with expressions ranging from curiosity to barely concealed hostility. At the head of the table sat James Carver. He was in his mid-50s, silver-haired, with the kind of face that belonged on corporate brochures. He smiled when they entered, and it was the smile of a shark that had just smelled blood. Claire, so glad you could make it. His eyes slid to Noah. And you brought your husband. How modern. Claire didn't rise to the bait. She took her seat at the opposite end of the table. Noah sat beside her, feeling every eye in the room cataloging his cheap suit and uncertain posture. Let's begin, Claire said calmly. What followed was 2 hours of the most brutal verbal combat Noah had ever witnessed. Carver started with pleasantries, congratulating Claire on her marriage, making jokes that had edges sharp enough to draw blood. Then he pivoted to business, questioning recent distribution decisions, pointing out quarterly losses in specific markets, building a case that Claire's focus had been divided. And now, Carver said, his voice smooth as poison, we learn that our CEO has entered into a sudden marriage with a subordinate employee, a logistics worker with no executive experience, no business background, no apparent qualifications beyond proximity to the boss. Noah felt his face burn. Claire's expression didn't change. Mr. Reed is my husband. His qualifications are none of your concern. They're absolutely my concern when this marriage appears to be a transparent attempt to satisfy your father's archaic trust clause. Carver leaned forward. Let's be honest, Claire, we all know what this is. A desperate play to maintain control. And it raises serious questions about your judgment. My judgment built this company from $200 million to $2 billion in revenue over 3 years, Claire said coldly. Your judgment has been to buy board seats and spread rumors instead of actually contributing to our success. The room tensed. One of the undecided board members, a woman in her 60s named Patricia Chen, spoke up. With respect, Claire, James raises a valid point. The optics of this marriage are concerning. Can you help us understand the reasoning? This was the moment they'd prepared for. Claire looked at Noah. Noah looked back. And then Claire did something they hadn't rehearsed. She reached over and took his hand on top of the table where everyone could see. The reasoning, Claire said, is that I met someone who sees this company the way my father did. From the ground up. Someone who understands operations, not just profits. Someone who challenged me to look at our inefficiencies instead of our stock price. She squeezed Noah's hand. Mr. Reed identified 6 critical failures in our distribution system that have been costing us millions. He did that in one afternoon. Your financial committee has been ignoring those issues for 2 years. Carver's smile tightened. That's a nice story. Do you have any proof? Claire nodded to her assistant, who began distributing folders to each board member. These are Noah's preliminary findings on distribution efficiency, route optimization, cost reduction strategies, implementation timelines. Claire's voice was sharp as a blade. I've promoted him to senior operations consultant. He starts officially tomorrow, and his first project will save this company approximately $30 million annually. The room went quiet as board members opened their folders and started reading. Noah watched their faces change, skepticism shifting to surprise, dismissal shifting to interest. Patricia Chen looked up from the report. These numbers are impressive, if accurate. But they're conservative, Noah heard himself say. Everyone turned to look at him. Claire squeezed his hand again. A warning or encouragement, he wasn't sure. Noah cleared his throat. I've been working logistics for 3 years. I see where the system fails every day. These aren't theoretical savings. They're practical changes that can be implemented within 90 days. Carver leaned back in his chair. Forgive me if I'm skeptical that a warehouse employee has suddenly discovered solutions that our entire operations team has missed. I'm not a warehouse employee, Noah said quietly. I'm a logistics coordinator who spent 1,000 hours watching inefficient systems cost this company money because nobody with authority bothered to ask the people actually doing the work. He looked directly at Carver. Maybe that's the difference between me and the people you'd prefer in this room. I actually know how the company functions outside this building. Dead silence. Then Patricia Chen smiled, just slightly. I'd like to see a full implementation plan with projected timelines and measurable outcomes. You'll have it by Friday, Claire said. The meeting continued, but the energy had shifted. Carver tried to regain control, but 3 other board members started asking Noah questions, technical questions about distribution routes and shipping costs and warehouse operations. Questions Noah could actually answer. By the time the meeting ended, Carver's motion for a vote of confidence had been tabled pending review of Noah's operational proposals. It wasn't a victory, but it wasn't a loss either. They walked out of the boardroom together, and Noah's legs felt like water. In the elevator, alone, Claire let out a breath that sounded like she'd been holding it for hours. That was closer than I wanted, she said. Did we win? We survived. That's all we needed today. She looked at him, and something in her eyes was different, softer. You did well in there. Better than well. You made them see you as an asset. I just told the truth. In this world, that's revolutionary. The elevator doors opened to the parking garage. Come on, I'm buying you lunch. Somewhere without cameras. They ended up at a small Vietnamese restaurant 3 blocks from Noah's apartment, the kind of place with plastic chairs and incredible food and absolutely zero corporate executives. Claire looked completely out of place in her expensive suit, but she ordered pho like she'd been there 100 times. My father used to bring me here, she said, surprising Noah. When I was in college, before the company got too big for him to leave the office. He said the best business happened in places like this, not boardrooms. Was he right? I don't know, but the pho is excellent. She took a bite, closed her eyes. God, I forgot how good this is. They ate in silence for a while. Then Claire said very quietly, Thank you. For what? For not making me do that alone. For showing up. For being exactly who you said you'd be. She looked at him across the small table. I wasn't sure you would. People make promises all the time. They usually break them when things get hard. I'm not most people. No, Claire said. You're really not. Noah's phone buzzed. His sister, reminding him about dinner tonight with Mia. I have to go, he said. Family thing. Of course. Claire pulled out her wallet. I can pay for my own lunch. You just saved my company from a hostile takeover. I'll buy you lunch. She left cash on the table. Same time Wednesday? We should be seen together consistently. Wednesday works. They walked outside together. On the sidewalk, in the middle of the city where nobody knew them and nobody cared, Claire Holloway did something she'd never done before. She hugged him. It was quick, professional, but it was real. We're going to win this, she said against his shoulder. I don't know how yet, but we will. Then she was gone, climbing into her car, leaving Noah standing on the sidewalk, wondering how his life had become something he didn't recognize. He went home. He had dinner with his sister and Mia. He helped his daughter with her homework. He read her a bedtime story. And when she was asleep, he sat at his kitchen table and stared at the ring on his finger. Somewhere in the city, James Carver was regrouping, planning his next move, looking for weaknesses. But Noah Reed had stood in a boardroom full of powerful people and hadn't flinched. He'd stood beside Claire Holloway and hadn't run. And tomorrow, he would do it again. Because that's what soldiers did. They showed up. They stood their ground. They protected what mattered, even when the fight was impossible, even when the odds were terrible, even when everything about it was insane. Noah looked at his phone. A text from Claire. Same restaurant Sunday? Mia's welcome to join us. If you think she's ready. His heart stuttered. The fake marriage was about to meet his real life. And Noah had no idea which one would survive the collision. Noah stared at Claire's text for a full minute before typing back. Let me talk to her first. He didn't sleep that night. Instead, he lay in bed running through 100 different ways to explain to an 8-year-old that her father had married a woman she'd never met. And oh, by the way, they might have lunch together on Sunday. Every version sounded insane. Wednesday morning arrived with rain and the kind of gray sky that matched Noah's mood perfectly. He dropped Mia at school, went to work, his new office, apparently, 3 floors up from where he used to clock in, and spent 2 hours staring at distribution data while his brain refused to focus. Claire found him at 10:30, standing in front of a whiteboard covered in shipping route diagrams that made no sense. "You look terrible," she said. "Thanks. You look like you slept great. I didn't sleep at all, but I'm better at pretending." She closed the door behind her. "What's wrong?" Noah gestured at the whiteboard. "All of this. I'm supposed to be saving your company $30 million, and I can't even figure out why we're routing through Kansas City when Denver is right there." "Legacy contract. We've been over this." "Right, legacy contract, because that makes sense." Noah threw the marker down. "I don't know what I'm doing, Claire. I'm a guy who moves boxes. I'm not a consultant. I'm not an operations expert. I'm just, you're overwhelmed." Claire picked up the marker, capped it, set it down carefully. "That's normal. You just stood in front of a board of directors and promised them results. Now you have to deliver. And if I can't, then we pivot, we adapt, we find another way." She looked at him steadily. "But you can deliver, Noah. I've seen your work. I've seen how you think. You just need to stop doubting yourself long enough to do it." Noah sat down in the expensive office chair that still felt like someone else's. "I got your text. About Sunday." Claire's expression shifted slightly. "You don't have to bring her. I shouldn't have suggested it. Too much, too soon." "No, it's fine. It's actually smart. If this is going to work, if people are going to believe we're building something real, she needs to meet you eventually." He ran his hand through his hair. "I just don't know how to tell her. Tell her the truth. That you met someone. That it's new. That you want her to meet this person who's important to you." Claire moved to the window, looking out at the rain-soaked city. "Kids are resilient, Noah. More resilient than we give them credit for. She's been through enough, her mother leaving, the custody battle, moving 3 times in 2 years because I couldn't afford rent." His voice cracked slightly. "She deserves stability, not this." Claire turned back to him. "And what is this exactly? A father who's trying to give her a better future? A father who's working hard to make sure she never has to worry about money or security? That sounds like stability to me. It's built on a lie. It's built on a legal marriage and a mutual agreement. That's not a lie. That's just unconventional." Claire walked over, sat in the chair across from him. "My parents had a conventional marriage. Church wedding, 20 years together, the whole performance. And they were miserable. They stayed together for appearances, for the company, for everything except actual love." She leaned forward. "I'd rather have honest partnership than fake romance any day. And if your daughter is half as smart as I think she is, she'll understand that eventually." Noah wanted to believe her. He wanted to believe this could work without hurting the only person in the world who actually mattered. "Okay," he said finally. "Sunday, lunch, low-key, nothing fancy." "Nothing fancy," Claire agreed. "Just lunch with your wife and your daughter. Completely normal." The absurdity of that sentence made Noah laugh despite everything. They spent the next 3 days buried in work. Noah's preliminary report had bought them time, but now he actually had to deliver results. Claire assigned him a small team, 3 analysts who looked at him with barely concealed skepticism, and they tore apart the distribution system piece by piece. The more Noah dug, the worse it got. Routes that hadn't been updated in a decade. Warehouse locations chosen for tax benefits rather than logistics efficiency. Shipping contracts with penalties so buried in legal language that nobody had noticed they were bleeding money every quarter. "How did nobody see this?" Noah asked on Thursday afternoon, staring at a contract that was costing the company $2 million a year in unnecessary fees. One of his analysts, a sharp-eyed woman named Keisha, shrugged. Nobody was looking. The system worked well enough that nobody questioned it, and the people with authority to change things were too busy fighting each other to notice the foundation was rotting. That's depressing. That's corporate America. Keisha pulled up another file. But here's the good news. Every problem you're finding, it's fixable. Not easy, but fixable. You just need to make them care enough to do the work. By Friday morning, Noah had a 40-page implementation plan with projected savings, timelines, and measurable benchmarks. Claire read it in 20 minutes, made 3 small edits, and sent it to the board. "Now we wait," she said. "For what?" For them to either accept that you're valuable or find another reason to get rid of me. She closed her laptop. Either way, we did the work. That's all we can control. Friday night, Noah finally told Mia. They were eating dinner, spaghetti with jarred sauce because Noah's cooking skills topped out at boiling water, when he said as casually as possible, "Hey, Bug, I want to talk to you about something." Mia looked up from her plate, tomato sauce on her chin. "Am I in trouble?" "No, nothing like that. I met someone important to me, and I was hoping you could meet her on Sunday." Mia's eyes went wide. "Like a girlfriend?" Noah's throat felt tight. "Yeah, kind of like that." "What's her name?" "Claire." "Is she nice?" "She's very nice. And smart. And I think you'll like her." Noah set down his fork. "But if you don't want to meet her yet, that's okay too. We can wait." Mia considered this with the seriousness of a Supreme Court justice. "Will she try to be my new mom?" The question hit Noah like a punch. "No, Bug, nobody's trying to replace your mom. This is just someone I care about. Someone I want you to know." "Okay." Mia went back to her spaghetti like they'd just discussed the weather. "Can we get ice cream after?" "Absolutely." Just like that, the conversation was over. Noah marveled at childhood resilience, the way kids could take earth-shattering information and file it away between homework and dessert. That night he texted Claire. She said yes, Sunday at noon, somewhere with good ice cream. Claire's response: "I know just the place." Sunday arrived too fast and too slow at the same time. Noah dressed Mia in her favorite dress, purple with elephants on it, and tried not to look as nervous as he felt. They drove to the address Claire had sent, a small bistro near the waterfront that somehow managed to be elegant without being intimidating. Claire was already there, sitting at an outdoor table in jeans and a simple blue sweater. Noah had never seen her in jeans. She looked younger, almost normal. She stood when they approached, and Noah saw something flicker across her face. Uncertainty, maybe, or fear. "Hi," Claire said, her voice softer than Noah had ever heard it. "Hi." Noah put his hand on Mia's shoulder. "Claire, this is my daughter Mia. Mia, this is Claire." Mia looked up at Claire with the frank, assessing stare that only children could pull off. "You're really tall." Claire laughed, and it sounded genuine. "I get that a lot. You're pretty tall too, for 8. I'm going to be taller than Daddy when I grow up." "That won't be hard," Noah muttered. They sat down, and for the first few minutes, it was awkward. Claire clearly had no idea how to talk to children, and Mia was doing that thing where she went quiet around strangers. But then the waiter brought crayons and a kids' menu, and Mia started drawing elephants, and Claire asked her about them. "This one's named Gerald," Mia explained, pointing to a purple blob. "He's the king of the elephants. And this one's Martha. She's his best friend, but she's also secretly a spy." "A spy elephant," Claire said seriously. "That's brilliant." "I know." Mia kept drawing. "Daddy says I should write stories about them." "Your daddy's right. You should." Claire looked at the drawing with real interest. "What's Martha spying on?" "The lions. They're planning something bad, but nobody believes her because she's just an elephant." Noah watched Claire's face shift, something soft and sad passing through her eyes. "I know exactly how Martha feels," Claire said quietly. They ordered food. Mia got chicken fingers and spent the entire meal telling Claire about her school, her best friend Emma, her terrible math teacher who gave too much homework. Claire listened like Mia was presenting a doctoral thesis, asking questions and nodding seriously. Somewhere between the main course and dessert, Noah realized his daughter liked Claire Holloway. And maybe more surprisingly, Claire liked Mia. After lunch, they walked along the waterfront. Mia ran ahead, chasing seagulls, and Noah and Claire followed at a distance. "She's wonderful," Claire said. You should be very proud." "I am, every day." Noah watched his daughter spin in circles, arms out like she could fly. "Thank you for this, for trying." "I'm not trying. I'm enjoying myself." Claire was quiet for a moment. "I never thought I'd have kids. Career came first, then it was too late, then it stopped mattering. But watching her, I can see why you fight so hard." "She's everything." "I know." Claire glanced at him. "And I promise you, Noah, whatever happens with the company, with the board, with any of this, I will never let it touch her. That's not negotiable." Before Noah could respond, Mia came running back. Can we get ice cream now? You promised. They found an ice cream shop, and Mia ordered something with rainbow sprinkles and enough sugar to fuel a rocket ship. Claire got dark chocolate. Noah got coffee because he was boring and needed caffeine. They sat on a bench overlooking the water, and Mia swung her legs and ate her ice cream and asked Claire questions with the brutal honesty of childhood. Are you Daddy's girlfriend? Claire looked at Noah. Noah looked at Claire. Yes, Claire said simply. Is that okay? Mia shrugged. I guess. Are you going to get married? Noah choked on his coffee. Claire didn't miss a beat. Maybe someday, if your dad asks me nicely. He should get you a ring. Emma's mom has a really big ring. Size isn't everything, Claire said, and there was humor in her voice. Sometimes the best things come in small packages. Mia accepted this wisdom and went back to her ice cream. Noah sent Claire a look that said, We need to tell her. Claire sent back a look that said, Not yet. They stayed at the waterfront until Mia's ice cream was gone and the sun was starting to set. When they finally walked back to the parking lot, Mia surprised everyone by hugging Claire goodbye. Claire froze for just a second, then hugged back, careful and gentle. Bye, Claire. I like you. I like you too, Mia. In the car driving home, Mia said sleepily from the back seat, Claire's nice, Daddy. You should marry her for real. Noah's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Maybe I will, Bug. Maybe I will. Monday morning brought news that shattered the fragile peace they'd been building. Noah was in his office reviewing shipping manifests when Claire appeared in his doorway, her face white. What's wrong? She closed the door, locked it. We have a problem. What kind of problem? Claire pulled out her phone and showed him an email. It was from the state comptroller's office. Subject line: Notice of financial investigation. Noah's blood went cold. What is this? Someone filed a complaint alleging financial misconduct. Specifically, that I've been using company funds for personal expenses and that you've been involved in the misappropriation. Claire's voice was deadly calm. It's complete bullshit, but it's official. They're launching an audit. Who filed it? 3 guesses. Carver. Carver. Claire paced the small office like a caged animal. This is his real move. The board meeting was a distraction. He was buying time to manufacture evidence, create a paper trail, build a case that looks legitimate enough to trigger an investigation. Noah felt sick. Can he do that? Just make up charges? He can if he's smart about it. And Carver's smart. He'll have doctored invoices, fake expense reports, shell companies that lead back to accounts he controls. By the time we prove it's all fabricated, the damage will be done. She stopped pacing. The board will have everything they need to remove me. What about the distribution plan? The savings we're implementing? Won't matter. A financial investigation trumps operational improvements. If they can paint me as corrupt, nothing else matters. Claire's hands were shaking. She noticed, clenched them into fists. He's been planning this for months, maybe years. The marriage clause was never his real weapon. This was. Noah stood up, walked to her. Okay, so what do we do? I don't know. For the first time since he'd met her, Claire Holloway looked truly scared. My lawyers are reviewing the complaint, but if there's even a shred of manufactured evidence, if he's done this right, then we find the real evidence, the proof that he's lying. Claire laughed bitterly. It's not that simple. He'll have covered his tracks, used intermediaries, made it impossible to trace back to him. Nothing's impossible. Noah's mind was racing. You said he's been planning this for months. That means transactions, paper trails, digital footprints, mistakes. He's too careful for mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. Noah grabbed his laptop. You trusted me to find problems in your distribution system. Trust me to find problems in his attack. Claire stared at him. You don't know forensic accounting. You don't know corporate investigation. No, but I know how systems fail. I know how to track things that don't match up. And I know how to look where nobody else is looking. He pulled up his access to the company's financial systems. Where did the complaint say the misconduct happened? Claire pulled out her phone, scrolled through the email. Distribution center in Memphis. Allegedly, I authorized payments to a vendor that doesn't exist, and you processed the invoices. Memphis, Noah's fingers flew across the keyboard. That's one of the centers I flagged in my report. The one with the routing inefficiency. So? So maybe that's not a coincidence. He pulled up the Memphis distribution records. When did these alleged payments happen? Over the past 6 months, 12 transactions, each one around $50,000. Noah filtered the data, narrowed the search. I need access to vendor verification records. Who has that? Accounting, but they won't give you access without authorization. Then authorize it. Claire made a call. 5 minutes later, Noah had access to every vendor transaction in the Memphis facility for the past year. He started digging. At first, it looked exactly like Carver wanted it to look. 12 payments to a company called Summit Logistics Solutions. Invoices signed off by Claire. Processing confirmations with Noah's employee ID. Except Noah had never processed those invoices. And when he pulled up the actual digital signatures, something was wrong. These aren't real, he said, zooming in on one of the documents. What do you mean? The digital signature, it's a scan, not a real e-signature. Someone copied my signature from another document and pasted it in. He pulled up 3 more invoices. Same thing, all of them. They're forgeries. Claire leaned over his shoulder. Can you prove that? Maybe, if I can find the original document they copied from. Noah opened another window, started searching through his archived approvals. There. This shipping authorization from April. Same signature, same angle, same everything. They literally just copy-pasted it. That's sloppy. That's arrogant. They didn't think anyone would look this closely. Noah kept searching. And look at this. Summit Logistics Solutions. It was registered 3 months ago, same week as your birthday. Claire's eyes widened. Before we were married. Before Carver knew I'd satisfy the trust clause. Right, which means he had this plan ready to go regardless. The marriage just made him accelerate the timeline. Noah pulled up the company registration. The business address is a P.O. box in Delaware, standard shell company setup. But look at the registered agent. Claire read the name and went very still. Marcus Webb. He's on Carver's legal team. Not anymore, he's not. Noah started taking screenshots, downloading files. We have a fake vendor, forged signatures, and a direct link to Carver's people. That's our evidence. Claire grabbed her phone. I'm calling my lawyers. If we can connect these dots before the investigation goes public. Wait. Noah held up his hand. Don't call anyone yet. Why not? Because if we show our hand now, Carver will destroy the evidence. He'll claim Webb acted alone. He'll have 50 lawyers create reasonable doubt. Noah looked at her. We need more. We need proof he's been sabotaging the company. Real sabotage, not just this financial scheme. What are you talking about? Noah pulled up his distribution analysis again. When I was reviewing the Memphis facility, I found something weird. Shipments going missing. Not a lot, just enough to create inventory discrepancies. I thought it was normal loss, damaged goods, bad record keeping. You think it's connected? I think Carver's been creating operational failures to justify removing you, making it look like the company's falling apart under your leadership. He started cross-referencing the missing shipments with vendor records. If I'm right, there should be a pattern. Specific products, specific routes, all going missing around the same time these fake invoices were being processed. He was right. Over 6 months, nearly $2 million in inventory had disappeared from the Memphis facility. Not stolen, just rerouted, diverted to addresses that didn't exist or warehouses that weren't in the company system. And every single diversion had been authorized using Noah's employee credentials. He's been framing you from the beginning, Claire said, her voice hollow. Making it look like you were skimming inventory and I was too incompetent to notice. Not just incompetent, complicit. The financial investigation is supposed to catch both of us. Noah saved the data, backed it up to 3 different drives. He's creating a narrative where we're corrupt partners who deserve to be removed. Claire sat down heavily. This is worse than I thought. Yeah. Noah looked at the evidence spreading across his screen. But it's also better. How is this better? Because he made mistakes, lots of them. He used my credentials but didn't account for access logs. He created fake shipments but didn't scrub the GPS data. He built a house of cards and assumed nobody would look at the foundation. Noah turned to face her. We can prove all of this, Claire. Not just the fake vendor, but the whole operation, the sabotage, the setup, everything. We need to take this to the authorities. No, we need to take it to the board. Noah stood up. Carver's planning to use the investigation to force you out, so we get ahead of it. We call an emergency meeting, present the evidence, and show them exactly what he's been doing. Claire shook her head. The board won't believe us over Carver. Half of them are in his pocket. They'll believe the data. Numbers don't lie. Noah grabbed his laptop. You said your father taught you that the most dangerous deals are the ones where everyone pretends to be your friend. Well, Carver's been pretending for years. It's time to stop pretending and show everyone what he really is. For a long moment, Claire just looked at him. Then something shifted in her face, the fear burning away, replaced by something harder and sharper. You're right. She pulled out her phone. I'm calling an emergency board meeting tomorrow morning. Can you have a full presentation ready? I'll have it ready in 4 hours. Make it 3. I want time to review before we walk in there. They worked through the night, Noah building the case, Claire sharpening the arguments. By 3 in the morning, they had a presentation that laid out Carver's scheme in brutal, undeniable detail. At 6, Claire went home to shower and change. Noah did the same, though he had to move quietly to avoid waking Mia. His sister was asleep on the couch again. He'd called her at midnight, asked her to watch Mia overnight, didn't explain why. In the bathroom mirror, Noah looked like death, dark circles under his eyes, 2 days of stubble. The face of a man who'd stumbled into a war he didn't understand. But when he looked at his left hand, at the ring that had stopped feeling foreign, he thought about Claire's face when she'd said nobody asked if she was happy, about Mia hugging Claire goodbye, about the promise he'd made to be a soldier. He put on his suit. He drank terrible coffee. He drove to the office while the city was still waking up. Claire met him in the lobby. She looked like she'd been carved from ice and fury. Ready? She asked. No, but let's do it anyway. The boardroom was full by 8 o'clock. All 12 members present, plus Carver's 3 lawyers, plus Claire's legal team. The air was thick with tension and expensive cologne. Carver smiled when they entered. Claire, Noah, thank you for calling this meeting. I assume you've seen the comptroller's notice? We've seen it, Claire said coolly. That's why we're here. She walked to the front of the room, connected her laptop to the display. Noah stood beside her, his presentation loaded and ready. Before this board considers any action based on outside investigations, Claire began, I'd like to present evidence of a systematic fraud that's been perpetrated against this company for the past 6 months. The room went silent. Carver's smile didn't waver, but his eyes went cold. That's quite an accusation. It's quite a case. Claire nodded to Noah. Noah pulled up the first slide. Summit Logistics Solutions. Registered 3 months ago by Marcus Webb, attorney for James Carver. 12 payments totaling $600,000 for services never rendered. He showed the forged signatures, the fake invoices, the shell company structure. Board members leaned forward, squinting at the data. Patricia Chen spoke first. These signatures are fraudulent? Completely, Noah said. I never approved these payments. Someone copied my signature from legitimate documents and pasted it onto fake invoices. That's a serious allegation, one of Carver's lawyers interjected. Do you have proof? Noah showed them the metadata, the timestamps, the original document the signature had been stolen from. The lawyer went quiet. Noah continued, but the fake vendor is just the surface. Someone has also been systematically diverting inventory from our Memphis facility. $2 million in products rerouted to addresses that don't exist using my access credentials. He showed them the shipping records, the GPS data that proved the shipments went to warehouses not in the company system. The access logs that revealed the credentials had been used from IP addresses Noah had never accessed. Someone cloned my login, Noah said. Someone with sophisticated technical resources and detailed knowledge of our systems. Someone who wanted to create evidence of misconduct that would implicate both me and Ms. Holloway. The room was dead silent now. Claire took over. Someone who had motive to discredit my leadership. Someone who's been buying board seats and building alliances for the past year. Someone who knew about the trust clause deadline and prepared this scheme as insurance. She looked directly at Carver. Someone like James Carver. Carver stood up slowly. This is outrageous. You're accusing me of fraud based on circumstantial evidence and paranoid conspiracy theories. I'm accusing you based on documented proof. Claire pulled up the final slide. Marcus Webb's phone records show 17 calls to your personal cell in the 3 weeks before Summit Logistics was registered. Your corporate credit card shows a payment to a data security firm specializing in credential spoofing 2 weeks before Noah's access was first compromised. And surveillance footage from the Memphis facility shows your head of operations accessing the server room on 4 separate occasions when he had no legitimate reason to be there. Carver's face went white. You wanted to destroy this company, Claire said, her voice cutting like a blade. Not because of business, not because you thought you could run it better, but because my father chose me over you 15 years ago and you never got over it. So you waited, you planned, you built a scheme to make me look incompetent and corrupt, and you almost succeeded. She paused, looking around the room at every board member. But you made one critical mistake. You assumed I was alone. You assumed I didn't have anyone who would fight for this company the way I do. You assumed wrong. Patricia Chen was staring at the presentation with an expression of dawning horror. If this is true, it's all true, Noah said quietly, and it's all documented. Financial records, digital forensics, security footage, we have everything. One of Carver's lawyers leaned over, whispered something urgent. Carver ignored him. You can't prove I authorized any of this, Carver said, but his voice had lost its smooth confidence. Webb acted independently. The phone calls were about legitimate legal matters. The credit card payment was for personal consulting. Then you won't mind if we turn all of this over to the FBI, Claire said. Along with the state comptroller. Let them sort out who authorized what. Carver's jaw clenched. The room erupted in voices. Board members arguing, lawyers conferring, accusations flying. But Noah just watched Claire stand at the front of the room, ice and steel, refusing to break. Patricia Chen banged her hand on the table. Enough. I move for an immediate independent investigation into these allegations, and I move that James Carver be suspended from this board pending the results. Seconded, another board member said quickly. Carver looked around the room and saw his support evaporating in real time. You're making a mistake. This company needs real leadership, not a criminal conspiracy, Patricia finished. Get out, James, before I call security myself. For a moment, Carver just stood there, his empire collapsing around him. Then he grabbed his briefcase and walked out, his lawyers scrambling to follow. The door slammed. The silence that followed was deafening. Patricia looked at Claire. I owe you an apology. We all do. We let our doubts about your marriage cloud our judgment about your leadership. That was wrong. Claire nodded once, accepting it without comment. And you, Patricia turned to Noah, you just saved this company from a very sophisticated attack. That's remarkable work. Noah didn't know what to say to that, so he just said, thank you. The meeting dissolved into logistics, legal next steps, investigation protocols, damage control. Claire handled it all with the same calm efficiency she brought to everything, but Noah saw the exhaustion underneath, the weight of fighting a war nobody should have to fight. When they finally left the boardroom 2 hours later, Claire walked straight past her office, past the elevators, all the way to the parking garage. Noah followed. In the empty concrete space, surrounded by luxury cars and fluorescent lights, Claire Holloway finally let herself break. She leaned against her Mercedes and put her face in her hands. Her shoulders shook. Noah stood there awkwardly, unsure what to do. Then he stepped forward and put his arms around her. She collapsed against him, and for the first time since they'd met, she let herself be anything other than strong. I'm so tired, she whispered. I'm so goddamn tired of fighting. I know. He tried to destroy everything. He tried to destroy me, and he almost did. But he didn't. Noah held her tighter. You stopped him. We stopped him. Claire pulled back, her eyes red but fierce. We. You keep saying we, because it's true. I couldn't have done this without you. She laughed, but it came out broken. I married you to satisfy a legal clause. I thought that was all this would be. A transaction. A shield. I didn't expect... What? A partner. A real one. Claire looked up at him, and Noah saw something in her eyes he'd never seen before. Something vulnerable and terrified and true. I didn't expect you. Noah's heart was hammering. They were still married, still playing roles, still in a performance that was supposed to end when the threat was over. Except the threat was over now, and neither of them was letting go. Claire. His phone rang, his sister. He considered ignoring it, but something made him answer. Noah, where are you? Mia's school called. She's sick. They need you to pick her up. Reality crashed back in. I'll be right there. He hung up, looked at Claire. I have to go. Of course. Go. Take care of her. Noah started toward his car, then stopped. Claire? What you said? About not expecting me. I didn't expect you either. Any of this. Is that good or bad? He thought about it. About his daughter hugging Claire goodbye. About standing in a boardroom and fighting for something that mattered. About the way this fake marriage had started feeling less fake every day. I don't know yet, he said honestly, but I want to find out. Then he left, driving too fast through city traffic to get to his daughter who needed him. Behind him, Claire Holloway stood alone in a parking garage, a ring on her finger, victory in her pocket, and no idea what came next. The war was over. But the real battle, the one for what they'd actually built between them, was just beginning. Mia had a fever of 101 and a stomach bug that made her miserable for 3 days straight. Noah took emergency leave from work, spent 72 hours alternating between holding a bucket for his daughter and washing sheets in the middle of the night. He barely slept, lived on coffee and whatever frozen dinners his sister dropped off, and didn't think about Claire Holloway or corporate warfare or anything beyond making sure his daughter felt safe. On the third night, when Mia's fever finally broke and she fell asleep clutching her stuffed elephant, Noah collapsed on the couch and closed his eyes for what felt like the first time in a week. His phone buzzed. A text from Claire. How is she? Noah stared at the message. Claire had texted him every day since the board meeting, asking about Mia, never pushing, never demanding his attention, just checking in like someone who actually cared. Better. Fever's gone. She's sleeping. The response came immediately. And how are you? Noah looked around his apartment, dishes piled in the sink, laundry everywhere, the exhausted chaos of single parenthood on full display. Surviving. That's not the same as being okay. No, but it's what I've got. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, can I bring you dinner tomorrow? Nothing fancy, just food. Noah should have said no, should have maintained distance. They'd survived the crisis, exposed Carver, saved the company. The practical reasons for their marriage were evaporating. They could start planning the exit strategy, the quiet divorce, the return to separate lives. Instead, he typed, yeah, that would be nice. Claire showed up the next evening at 6:30 with Thai food from the place near Noah's apartment and a stuffed elephant wearing a tiny superhero cape. For Mia, she said, holding it up. I saw it and thought she might like a friend for Gerald. Noah let her in, and the sight of Claire Holloway standing in his cramped apartment in jeans and a sweater, holding takeout and a toy elephant, was so surreal he almost laughed. She's asleep, he said quietly. She's been sleeping a lot. That's good. Sleep is how kids heal. Claire set the food down on the kitchen counter, looked around at the disaster zone. When was the last time you ate something that wasn't coffee? Define ate. That's what I thought. She started unpacking containers. Sit down. I'll handle this. You don't have to. Noah, sit. He sat. Claire moved around his kitchen like she'd been there 100 times, finding plates, serving food, even washing the dishes that were piled in the sink. She worked in silence, efficient and focused, and Noah watched her feeling something shift in his chest. This wasn't the CEO who commanded boardrooms. This was someone trying to help. Someone who saw him drowning and threw him a rope without being asked. They ate at his small kitchen table, the same table where he'd sat a month ago thinking his life was small and manageable and under control. Before courthouse ceremonies and corporate espionage and fake marriages that stopped feeling fake. The board met yesterday, Claire said, breaking the comfortable silence. Made it official, Carver's out, suspended pending federal investigation. Marcus Webb already took a plea deal, testified that Carver orchestrated the entire scheme. That was fast. When you have 12 lawyers and documented proof, things move quickly. Claire took a bite of pad thai. The FBI is building a case. Wire fraud, corporate espionage, conspiracy. He's looking at serious prison time. Noah should have felt triumphant. Instead, he just felt tired. What about the company? Strong. Stronger than before, actually. Your distribution reforms are being implemented. The board is united for the first time in years. Stock price is up 8%. Claire smiled slightly. You saved more than my position, Noah. You saved the entire operation. We saved it. There you go with we again. Well, it's true. I found the evidence. You knew how to use it. Neither of us could have done this alone. Noah pushed food around his plate. What happens now? Claire was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. The trust clause is satisfied. The threat is neutralized. The reasons we got married are resolved. The words hung between them like smoke. So we start planning the exit, Noah said, and it came out flat. If that's what you want. Is it what you want? Claire set down her fork, looked at him directly. I don't know what I want anymore. A month ago, I wanted survival. I wanted to keep my company and prove my father's doubts wrong. I wanted to win. She paused. But somewhere in the middle of all that, something changed. What changed? You became real. This became real. Claire gestured between them. I started looking forward to our fake dates. I started thinking about you when I made decisions. I started caring what you thought about things that had nothing to do with business. She laughed softly. I married you as a strategy, and then I made the terrible mistake of actually getting to know you. Noah's throat was tight. Claire. And Mia. Claire's voice got softer. Watching you with her, watching the way you put her first in everything, the way you fight for her without hesitation, it made me realize I've been fighting for the wrong things my whole life. You've been fighting for your company, your father's legacy. That's not wrong. No, but it's not enough either. She looked at him with those dark, fierce eyes. I want more, Noah. I want Sunday lunches and terrible knock-knock jokes and someone who actually shows up when life gets hard. I want what you and Mia have, that kind of simple, solid, real thing that actually matters. You want a family. I want this family. The words came out raw and honest, which is insane because we barely know each other and this whole thing started as a transaction, and you have every reason to walk away now that the crisis is over. But I'm asking you not to. I'm asking you to stay and see if this thing we accidentally built could become something intentional. Noah stood up, walked to the window, stared out at the parking lot and the ordinary world beyond it. A month ago, his biggest concern was making rent. Now he was married to a CEO, had helped expose a criminal conspiracy, and was being asked to turn a fake marriage into a real one. I need to know something, he said without turning around. What? Did you mean what you said in the parking garage? About not expecting me? Yes. And when you look at me now, what do you see? An employee? A consultant? A convenient husband who fulfilled a legal requirement? He heard Claire stand, heard her walk across the small apartment. She stopped behind him close enough that he could feel her presence. I see someone who makes me laugh when I haven't laughed in years. Someone who calls me out when I'm being unreasonable. Someone who stood in a boardroom and fought for me when he had nothing to gain and everything to lose. Her voice was quiet but steady. I see someone I trust. Someone I respect. Someone I'm pretty sure I'm falling in love with, even though that was never part of the plan. Noah turned around. Claire was right there, looking up at him with an expression that was terrified and hopeful and absolutely genuine. I'm a single father living paycheck to paycheck, he said. I don't fit in your world. I don't know how to navigate corporate politics or fancy parties or any of the things that come with being married to you for real. I don't care about any of that. But I care. I care that Mia deserves stability, not chaos. I care that she deserves someone who's going to stick around, not someone who might get tired of playing house with people who aren't in her tax bracket. Noah's hands were shaking. I can't let her get attached to you and then have you realize this was a mistake. I can't do that to her. Then don't. Claire reached up, put her hand on his chest right over his racing heart. Don't let this be a mistake. Choose it. Choose us. Make it real because we both want it to be real. You don't know what you're asking. I know exactly what I'm asking. I'm asking you to take a risk on something that might fail. I'm asking you to believe that what we built under pressure could survive without it. I'm asking you to trust me the way I've learned to trust you." Her eyes were bright. "I'm asking you to marry me again, not for legal reasons, not for the company, just because we want to." Noah thought about the past month, the courthouse ceremony, and the fake dates that stopped feeling fake. The way Claire had listened to Mia's stories like they mattered. The way she'd stood in his kitchen washing dishes without being asked. The way she'd texted every day when Mia was sick, not because it was strategic, but because she cared. He thought about the ring on his finger that he'd stopped noticing, about how his apartment felt less empty when Claire was in it, about the fact that somewhere along the way, this woman had become someone he couldn't imagine walking away from. "I have conditions," he said quietly. Hope flickered across Claire's face. "Name them." "Mia comes first, always. In every decision, every plan, every choice we make. If she's not comfortable with this, if it hurts her or confuses her or makes her life harder, we slow down. We adjust. We put her needs above what we want." "Agreed. What else?" "No more secrets. No more strategies that I don't know about. If we're doing this for real, we're doing it as actual partners. Equal say, equal voice. No corporate hierarchy in our marriage." "Done. Anything else?" Noah looked at her for a long moment. "You have to mean it. All of it. Because if you change your mind, if you wake up in 6 months and realize you married down, that this was a mistake, I'll survive. I've survived worse. But Mia won't understand, and I won't forgive you for hurting her." Claire's hand moved from his chest to his face, gentle and certain. "I mean it, Noah. Every word. I'm not going to change my mind. I'm not going to wake up and regret this. I'm going to wake up and make you coffee and listen to Mia's elephant stories and be grateful that I got to keep you both." "You're really sure about this?" "I've never been more sure of anything." Noah leaned down and kissed her. It was nothing like the courthouse kiss, quick and efficient and meaningless. This was slow and real and full of everything they'd been too afraid to say. Claire kissed him back like she'd been waiting for permission, her hands in his hair, her body pressed against his. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Noah rested his forehead against hers. "Okay," he whispered. "Let's do this for real." Claire smiled, and it transformed her entire face. "Yeah? Yeah. But we're telling Mia together, tomorrow, when she's feeling better. And if she's not okay with it, we wait." "Fair enough." They stood there in Noah's small apartment, holding each other while the world kept turning outside. And for the first time since this whole insane thing started, Noah felt like maybe, just maybe, they were going to be okay. A small voice interrupted from the hallway. "Daddy?" They broke apart quickly. Mia stood in her pajamas, holding Gerald the elephant, looking confused. "Hey, Bug, you should be sleeping." "I heard voices." She looked at Claire. "Hi, Claire." Claire crouched down to Mia's level. "Hi, sweetie. How are you feeling? My tummy doesn't hurt anymore. Are you having a sleepover?" Noah and Claire exchanged glances. This was happening now, apparently. Noah knelt beside Claire. "Actually, Bug, we wanted to talk to you about something. Can we sit down for a minute?" They moved to the couch. Mia climbed up between them, still clutching her elephant. Noah took a deep breath. "You know how Claire and I have been spending time together?" he started. Mia nodded seriously. "Well, the thing is, we really like each other. A lot. And we were thinking about making it official." "Like getting married?" Mia asked. Noah's heart stuttered. "Actually, we're already married." Mia's eyes went wide. "Really?" "Really. We did it a few weeks ago before you met Claire. It was fast and kind of complicated, and we should have told you sooner. I'm sorry we didn't." Noah took Mia's small hand in his, but we wanted to make sure it was real before we told you. That it was something that was going to last. Mia looked between them, processing this information with the seriousness of a judge. "So, Claire is my stepmom." Claire spoke carefully. "Only if you want me to be. I'm not trying to replace your mom. I care about you and your dad a lot, and I'd like to be part of your family if that's okay with you." "Would you live here?" Eventually, maybe. Or you and your dad could live at my house. Or we could find a new place together. We'd figure it out as a family. Would I have to change schools? No, Noah said firmly. You're staying in your school with your friends. That's not changing. Mia was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked at Claire. Did you bring me that elephant with the cape? Claire smiled. I did. His name is Captain Gerald. I thought your Gerald might need a superhero friend. That's a good name. Mia hugged her original elephant. Okay, you can marry Daddy for real. But you have to promise to come to my school play next month. Everyone's parents are coming, and I don't want to be the only one with just one parent. Claire's eyes got bright. I promise, I wouldn't miss it. And you have to like elephants, that's a rule. I love elephants, they're my favorite. Okay, then it's okay. Just like that, Mia had made her decision. She yawned. Can I go back to bed now? I'm still tired. Noah carried her back to her room, tucked her in, kissed her forehead. I love you, Bug. You know that, right? No matter what changes, that never changes. I know, Daddy. I love you too, and I like Claire. She's nice. Mia's eyes were already closing, and she brought good food. Noah laughed softly and left the room. Claire was standing in the hallway, tears on her face. She said yes, Claire whispered. She actually said yes. Kids are surprisingly practical. Feed them and show up to their school plays, and you're basically family. Noah wiped a tear from Claire's cheek. Are you okay? I'm better than okay. I'm terrified and happy, and I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm okay. She laughed. We're really doing this. We're really doing this. They spent the night talking about logistics and timelines and how to blend two very different lives into something that actually worked. Claire would keep her house for now, but start spending more time at Noah's apartment. Noah would maintain his new position at the company, but with clear boundaries between work and home. They'd take Mia to lunch every Sunday, just the three of them, building the kind of routine that felt solid. At midnight, Claire finally stood to leave. Stay, Noah said. I don't want to confuse Mia. We just told her, stay on the couch. Just stay. I don't want you driving home this late, and I don't want you to leave. Claire looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. Okay. Noah found her blankets and a pillow. They said goodnight awkwardly, like teenagers figuring out boundaries. But when Noah went to bed, he could hear Claire moving around in the other room, and the sound felt like safety. The next morning, Mia woke up feeling completely better and immediately interrogated Claire about every detail of her life. What was her favorite color? Did she have any pets? Could she help with homework? Had she ever seen a real elephant? Claire answered every question with patience and humor, and Noah watched his daughter fall in love with his wife in real time. By Sunday, it felt almost normal. Monday, Noah went back to work. The office buzzed with gossip about Carver's arrest and the FBI investigation. People looked at Noah differently now, not as a random logistics worker who'd married the boss, but as the guy who'd exposed a criminal conspiracy and saved the company. Keisha stopped by his office at 10. So the rumors are true. You're actually staying married. Where'd you hear that? Please. You brought her coffee this morning and she kissed you in the parking garage. It's all over the building. Keisha grinned. Good for you. She's terrifying, but in a hot way. That's my wife you're talking about. I know. That's what makes it fun. Keisha dropped a folder on his desk. Memphis facility. They want to implement your reforms next month. You need to sign off on the timeline. Noah opened the folder, looked at projections that showed millions in savings. His reforms, his ideas, things that actually mattered. This is surreal, he said. Which part? The corporate espionage, the emergency wedding, or the fact that you're now a senior consultant making 6 figures? All of it. Get used to it. Your life is different now. Keisha headed for the door, then paused. But for what it's worth, I think she's lucky. The boss, I mean. She got someone who actually cares about more than her money. After Keisha left, Noah sat in his office, his actual office, with a door and a window and a nameplate that said, Noah Reed, Senior Operations Consultant, and tried to process how much had changed in 6 weeks. His phone buzzed. Claire. Lunch? I miss you. He smiled despite himself. Can't. Memphis conference call at noon. Dinner then. My place. I'll cook. You don't cook. I'll learn. See you at 7. Noah worked through the afternoon, reviewing distribution data and efficiency reports. At 6, he left the office, picked up Mia from his sister's place, and drove to Claire's house. The gate code still worked. The driveway still felt too fancy. But when Claire opened the door in an apron covered in flour, her hair a mess, laughing at her own disaster, it felt less like a museum and more like a home. I attempted cookies, she said. Emphasis on attempted. Mia ran past Noah into the kitchen and gasped. Wow, what happened? I followed a recipe. The recipe lied. Claire gestured at the counter covered in burned cookies and spilled flour. I'm better at hostile takeovers than baking. Can we order pizza instead? Mia asked hopefully. Absolutely. Extra cheese? And pepperoni. They ordered pizza. They ate it sitting on Claire's pristine living room floor because Mia insisted it was more fun that way. They watched a movie about elephants that Mia had seen 17 times. And when Mia fell asleep between them on the couch, Claire looked at Noah and whispered, Is this what normal feels like? I think so. Is it okay? It's better than okay. It's perfect. The weeks that followed weren't perfect. They were messy and complicated and full of adjustments. Mia had nightmares about her mom coming back and taking her away. Claire had panic attacks about screwing up as a stepmother. Noah struggled with feeling like he didn't belong in Claire's world, even though she kept insisting he did. But they worked through it, together. Claire showed up to Mia's school play and cried during the final bow. Noah learned how to navigate board meetings without feeling like an imposter. Mia started calling Claire by her first name, then one day casually referred to my stepmom Claire and acted like it was no big deal. 2 months after the board meeting, the FBI formally charged James Carver with 17 counts of fraud and conspiracy. The trial would take months, but the case was solid. Marcus Webb's testimony, combined with Noah's evidence, made conviction almost certain. Patricia Chen called a special board meeting to present the company's quarterly results. Revenue was up 15%. Operational costs were down 12%. The distribution reforms Noah had proposed were exceeding projections. I move that we make Noah Reed's position permanent, Patricia said, with a full executive compensation package and voting privileges on operational decisions. The motion passed unanimously. Afterward, Claire found Noah in his office, staring at his new contract in disbelief. This can't be right, he said. This salary has too many zeros. It's exactly right. You earned it. Claire sat on the edge of his desk. How do you feel? Terrified, grateful, completely out of my depth. He looked up at her, like I'm waiting for someone to realize they made a mistake. No one made a mistake, Noah. You belong here. You've always belonged here. You just didn't know it yet. She leaned down and kissed him, soft and certain. Come on, let's go home. Your place or mine? Ours. We're moving in together, remember? The moving truck comes Saturday. They decided to find a new place, something that wasn't his cramped apartment or her cold mansion, but somewhere that belonged to all three of them. A house with a yard for Mia and an office for Noah, and enough space for Claire to finally learn how to cook without burning down the kitchen. That Saturday, surrounded by boxes and chaos, and Mia's excited chatter about her new room, Noah Reed stood in the kitchen of their new house and thought about the joke that had changed everything. So what? Should I marry you? He'd said it exhausted and overwhelmed and half-joking on a terrace 6 weeks ago, and Claire Holloway had looked at him and said yes. Not because she needed him, not because of legal clauses or corporate warfare or strategies that made sense on paper, but because somewhere in the middle of a fake marriage, they'd built something real, something worth keeping, something worth fighting for. Noah found Claire in the master bedroom, hanging clothes in the closet. She turned when he entered, and the smile on her face was the kind that reached all the way to her eyes. Hey, she said, we did it. We actually moved in together. We did. Noah walked over, wrapped his arms around her. Are you happy? Claire leaned into him, solid and sure. I'm terrified and exhausted, and I have no idea how to be a wife and stepmother and CEO all at the same time. But yeah, I'm happy. Good. They stood there in their new bedroom, in their new house, building their new life. And when Mia called from downstairs asking where they'd packed her elephant collection, they went together to help her find it. Because that's what families did. They showed up. They solved problems. They made it work. Even when it started as a joke. Even when nobody believed it would last. Even when the whole thing was completely, beautifully, impossibly insane. 3 months into living together, Noah woke up at 2 a.m. to find Claire's side of the bed empty. He found her in the home office they shared, surrounded by paperwork, her laptop casting blue light across her tired face. She was wearing one of his old t-shirts and had her hair pulled back in a messy knot. She looked nothing like the polished CEO who commanded boardrooms, and everything like the woman he'd fallen in love with. "Can't sleep?" he asked from the doorway. Claire jumped slightly, then relaxed when she saw him. The audit results came back, final numbers on Carver's fraud. She turned the laptop so he could see. He stole over $8 million across 3 years, created 17 shell companies, compromised 4 different facilities. Noah walked over, read the report over her shoulder. "That's worse than we thought." "Much worse. The FBI is adding additional charges. His lawyers are trying to negotiate a plea deal, but the prosecutor wants to make an example of him." Claire rubbed her eyes. "It's all falling apart for him. Everything he built, everyone he manipulated, gone." "You sound almost sad about it." "Not sad, just tired." She leaned back in the chair. "He spent 15 years planning this. 15 years hating me, undermining my father, building his empire of lies. And for what? He's going to prison, his reputation is destroyed, and the company he tried to steal is stronger than ever." Noah pulled up a chair beside her. "You're wondering if it was worth it. All the fighting, all the stress. I know it was worth it. I saved my father's legacy. I protected hundreds of jobs. I proved I could lead." Claire looked at him. "But sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd just walked away. Let Carver have it. Started something new, something that didn't come with all this weight." "You never would have done that." "No, but I think about it." She closed the laptop. "I think about alternate versions of my life where I wasn't fighting all the time, where I could just be." Noah reached over and took her hand. "Is that what you want? To stop fighting?" "I want to fight for things that matter. This company matters. The people who work here matter. But I also want to fight for this." She squeezed his hand. "For us. For Mia. For Sunday mornings when we don't have to think about board meetings or hostile investors or any of it. We have those. We had one last week. We had 3 hours before I got called in for an emergency conference call with Tokyo." Claire laughed, but it sounded hollow. "I'm not complaining. I chose this life. But sometimes I wonder if I'm choosing the right things." Noah stood up, pulled her to her feet. "Come on, you need sleep." "I need to finish reviewing." "It'll still be there in the morning. Come to bed." They walked back to the bedroom together, and Noah held her while she finally relaxed enough to sleep. But he stayed awake thinking about what she'd said, about fighting for the right things, about the weight of legacy and expectation. The next morning, Mia had a meltdown about her school project. She'd waited until the last minute to build a diorama about ecosystems, and now it was due in 2 days and she had nothing. "I'm going to fail," she wailed at breakfast. "Mrs. Henderson is going to fail me, and I'll never get into college, and my life is over." "You're 8, Noah said calmly. "You have time before college." "But I need good grades now so I can get into the good middle school, so I can get into the good high school, so I can—" "Breathe," Claire interrupted, sitting down beside Mia. "Where did you hear all that?" "Emma's mom. She says we have to start planning now or we'll never succeed." Claire and Noah exchanged glances. Emma's mother was one of those parents who treated elementary school like an Olympic qualifying event. "Emma's mom is wrong," Claire said firmly. "You know what matters in 2nd grade? Learning, being kind, having fun, not stressing about college when you still believe in the tooth fairy." "I don't believe in the tooth fairy anymore," Mia said with great dignity. "I'm not a baby." "My mistake. But the point stands. You're going to be fine. Your dad and I will help you with the project tonight, and it'll be great." Claire ruffled Mia's hair. "And if Mrs. Henderson has a problem with that, she can take it up with me." Mia giggled. "You're scary when you're mad." "Exactly. So stop worrying and eat your breakfast." That evening, the three of them built a rainforest ecosystem using a shoebox, construction paper, toy animals, and what Claire called aggressive amounts of glitter. Mia narrated the whole process, explaining which animals lived where and why the jaguar was the king of the jungle, even though, technically, jaguars lived in rainforests, not jungles. And Mrs. Henderson needed to get her facts straight. Noah watched Claire hot glue plastic trees with the same intensity she brought to contract negotiations, and felt something settle in his chest. This was what mattered, not quarterly earnings or board votes or proving anything to anyone. Just this, his daughter laughing, his wife covered in glitter, building something together. "What are you smiling about?" Claire asked, catching him watching. "Nothing, just happy." "Yeah?" She smiled back. "Me too." The following week brought news that shifted everything again. Patricia Chen called Claire into a private meeting. Noah wasn't invited, but Claire told him about it that evening while they were making dinner together, or rather while Noah made dinner and Claire supervised because her cooking skills had not improved despite multiple attempts. "She wants to expand my role," Claire said, chopping vegetables with the careful precision of someone who'd watched too many cooking shows. "Not just CEO of Holloway Freight, she's proposing a merger with two smaller logistics companies, creating a holding group. I'd run the whole thing." Noah looked up from the pasta he was stirring. "That's huge." "It's massive. 3 companies, combined revenue of $6 billion, operations in 12 countries. Claire set down the knife. "It's everything my father wanted. The expansion he planned, but never lived to see." "So why do you look worried?" "Because it would mean more travel, more time away from home, more 14-hour days and emergency calls and all the things I just told you I wanted less of." She leaned against the counter. "It's an incredible opportunity. It would cement our position as industry leaders. It would mean security for everyone who works for us, including you. This isn't about me. It's about all of us. This decision affects our whole family." Claire looked at him. "What do you think I should do?" Noah turned off the stove, gave her his full attention. "I think you need to ask yourself what you actually want, not what your father would have wanted, not what the board expects, what Claire Holloway wants for her life." "I don't know anymore." "Yes, you do. You're just scared to admit it." Claire was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, very softly, "I want to say no." "Then say no." "It's not that simple." "It is exactly that simple. Patricia offered you something. You don't want it. You say no thank you and move on. But the board will think, the board doesn't get to decide what you want, Claire. You spent 15 years proving yourself to them. You saved this company. You earned the right to make choices based on your own life, not their expectations." Noah moved closer. "What would make you happy, really happy?" Claire closed her eyes. "Running one company well instead of 3 companies poorly. Coming home for dinner. Being here when Mia has school events. Having time to actually be married to you instead of just sharing a house." She opened her eyes. "I want to be excellent at the life I have instead of adequate at the life everyone thinks I should want." "Then tell Patricia that. She'll be disappointed. She'll respect you. There's a difference." Noah took Claire's hands. "You don't have to be your father. You don't have to sacrifice everything for the company. You're allowed to want balance. You're allowed to choose happiness." Claire's eyes got bright. "When did you get so wise?" "I've been practicing. I had a good teacher." He kissed her forehead. "Whatever you decide, I support you, but decide for yourself, not for anyone else." The next day, Claire met with Patricia and declined the merger opportunity. She recommended another executive for the role instead, someone ambitious and hungry and ready for that kind of challenge. Patricia was surprised, then thoughtful, then ultimately supportive. "I wondered if you'd say yes," Patricia said. "Part of me hoped you wouldn't." "Why?" "Because the best leaders know their limits. They know when to push and when to pull back. Your father never learned that lesson. He worked himself to death trying to be everything to everyone." Patricia stood, extended her hand. "You're smarter than he was. You're going to have a better life because of it." That evening, Claire came home at 6:30. Early by her old standards, normal by their new ones. She found Noah and Mia in the backyard, planting a vegetable garden that would probably die because none of them knew anything about gardening, but they were trying anyway. I said no, Claire announced. Mia looked up from the dirt. No to what? To being busier than I already am, to choosing work over family, to being the kind of person who misses important things. Claire kicked off her expensive shoes and walked barefoot across the grass to join them. I said no because I'd rather be here, planting vegetables that will definitely die with the two best people I know. Mia grinned. We're planting tomatoes. Noah says they're easy, but I think he's lying. Probably, but we'll figure it out together. Claire grabbed a small shovel and started digging. What else are we planting? They spent the evening covered in dirt, arguing about proper planting depth and making plans for a garden that existed more in imagination than reality. And when Mia went to bed that night, she hugged Claire extra tight and whispered, I'm glad you stayed home. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. In June, James Carver went to trial. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence, Noah's forensic work, Marcus Webb's testimony, digital trails that proved every element of the conspiracy. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. 15 years in federal prison, restitution of $8 million, permanent ban from corporate leadership positions. Claire attended the sentencing hearing. Noah went with her, holding her hand in the courthouse hallway while they waited for their turn to sit in the gallery. How do you feel? Noah asked. Relieved, vindicated, sad. Claire watched lawyers and defendants stream past. Mostly sad. He threw away 15 years of his life because he couldn't let go of ego and resentment. What a waste. He made his choices. We all make choices. Some of us are just luckier in the consequences. She looked at Noah. I chose you on a terrace at my birthday party. That could have been a disaster. Instead, it saved my life. It saved both our lives. They sat through the sentencing, watched James Carver accept his fate with the same cold composure he'd brought to every board meeting. He didn't look at Claire, didn't acknowledge her presence, just stood there while the judge detailed his crimes and sentenced him to more than a decade behind bars. Afterward, outside the courthouse, reporters waited. Claire gave a brief statement about justice being served and her commitment to leading with integrity. She didn't gloat, didn't celebrate, just stated facts and moved on. In the car, driving away from the courthouse and the cameras and the final chapter of the Carver saga, Claire let out a long breath. It's over, she said. It's actually over. How does it feel? Empty. I spent so much time fighting him, preparing for his attacks, defending against his schemes, and now he's just gone. And I have no idea what to do with all that energy. Noah reached over and took her hand. You could use it on us, on building something instead of defending something. I like that idea. Claire squeezed his fingers. Let's go home. Home was full of noise and chaos. Mia had invited 3 friends over for a sleepover, and the house vibrated with 8-year-old energy. They made a fort in the living room using every sheet and blanket they could find. They painted their nails. They had a dance party that made the neighbors probably regret living next to them. Claire jumped into the chaos like she'd been doing it her whole life. She helped build the fort, even though it collapsed twice. She judged a talent show where every act was either singing or gymnastics. She ordered pizza for everyone and didn't even flinch at the destruction of her formerly pristine home. At midnight, when the girls finally crashed in the fort, Claire and Noah collapsed on the couch with glasses of wine and surveyed the damage. Your house will never be the same, Noah said. Good. It was too perfect before. Too much like a museum. Claire looked around at the scattered toys and nail polish and general chaos. This is better. This is real. You're really okay with this? The noise, the mess, the complete loss of peace and quiet? I'm more than okay with it. She curled into his side. This is what I wanted without knowing I wanted it. A life that's full and messy and loud and actually mine. Noah kissed the top of her head. I'm proud of you. For what? For choosing this. For letting go of the life you thought you were supposed to have and building the one you actually want. I had a good example. She looked up at him. You've been doing that your whole life. Choosing what matters over what's expected. Choosing Mia over everything else. Choosing to show up even when it's hard. I didn't have much choice. When you're a single parent, you just do what needs doing. That's not true. Lots of people have choices and make selfish ones. You made brave ones. You made good ones. Claire sat up, turned to face him properly. I need to tell you something. Noah's stomach tightened. That sounds ominous. It's not. It's just important. She took both his hands. When we got married, I thought I was making a practical decision, a strategic move to save my company, and you went along with it because you needed security for Mia. Neither of us was thinking about love or forever or any of that. I remember. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being practical and started being real. I stopped thinking of you as my strategic husband and started thinking of you as my actual husband, the person I want to come home to, the person I want to build a life with. Her eyes were bright. I fell in love with you, Noah. Not because you helped me save the company, not because you're good with Mia, not because you fit into my life perfectly, but because you're you. Because you make me laugh and call me out when I'm being unreasonable and make me want to be better. Noah felt his throat get tight. Claire, I know we're already married. I know we've already done the ceremony and signed the papers and built a life together. But I want to do it again. Not because we have to, not because of legal clauses or corporate threats, just because I want to stand in front of the people we love and choose you, intentionally, publicly, for real. She pulled a small box from her pocket and opened it. Inside was a ring, not expensive, not flashy, just a simple gold band with an inscription inside that said, "From contract to choice." Noah Reed, will you marry me again? This time for love? Noah looked at this remarkable woman who'd chosen him twice now. Once out of desperation, once out of love. He thought about the journey they'd taken, from a terrace joke to a courthouse ceremony to a real marriage built on trust and partnership and showing up for each other. Yes, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Yes, I'll marry you again. I'll marry you as many times as you want. She slipped the ring onto his finger, next to the Walmart band he still wore. Then she kissed him like they were sealing a vow that actually mattered this time. When they finally broke apart, Noah pulled his own small box from his pocket. I had the same idea. Inside was a ring for Claire, also simple, also gold, with an inscription that read, "You asked, I said yes." When did you? Last week, after you turned down the merger. I realized you'd finally chosen yourself, chosen us, chosen the life you actually wanted instead of the one you thought you should have. He took her hand. And I wanted to give you something that represented that choice. He slipped the ring onto her finger next to the Walmart ring she'd never stopped wearing. We're really doing this, Claire said, laughing through tears. We're renewing vows for a marriage that's only 6 months old. We're making it official. Actually official, not legally official. Noah wiped a tear from her cheek. When do you want to do it? Small ceremony, just us, Mia, a few close friends, nothing fancy, maybe at the house, in the backyard with the dying vegetable garden. That sounds perfect. They planned the ceremony for August, late summer, when the garden would be at its most optimistic before fall, killed whatever they'd managed to grow. Claire hired a minister but refused a wedding planner. They'd do it themselves, with help from the people who actually mattered. Mia took her role as flower girl with extreme seriousness. She practiced walking slowly for 2 weeks, scattering imaginary petals and correcting her technique. She picked out her own dress, purple with elephants, naturally, and announced that Gerald and Captain Gerald would both be in attendance. Noah's sister helped with decorations, turning their backyard into something magical without being over the top. String lights and wildflowers and simple elegance that felt like them. Patricia Chen agreed to be Claire's witness, which felt right. She'd been there for the corporate battle. She should be there for the victory. The morning of the ceremony, Noah woke up next to Claire and felt a wave of gratitude so intense it was almost painful. 6 months ago, his biggest concern had been making rent. Now he was renewing vows to a woman he loved, in a house they owned together, with a daughter who called them both her parents. "What are you thinking?" Claire asked sleepily. "That my life is insane and wonderful and nothing like I planned." "Is that good or bad?" "It's perfect." He kissed her. "What time do people arrive?" 3. We have 6 hours to panic and second-guess everything. Or we could have breakfast and not panic. I like your version better. They made breakfast together, actual cooking, not just ordering out, and Mia joined them in her elephant dress, even though she wasn't supposed to wear it until the ceremony. I'm practicing, she explained seriously. I need to make sure I can walk in it. By 3 o'clock, 40 people gathered in their backyard. Not a huge crowd, just the people who mattered. Noah's sister and her family, a few colleagues from work who'd become actual friends, Mia's teacher who'd been supportive through all the chaos, and Patricia Chen who stood beside Claire looking proud. The minister was kind and brief. He talked about choices and commitment and building something real from unexpected beginnings. He talked about how the strongest foundations were sometimes built on uncertainty, because that's when you learned what you were really made of. Then it was time for vows. Noah went first. 6 months ago, you asked me a question on a terrace. I answered it as a joke. But you took it seriously, and that changed everything. You took a scared single dad who was barely holding it together and made him part of something bigger. You gave me purpose and partnership and a future I'd stopped believing was possible. He looked at Claire, at Mia standing beside them, at the life they'd built. I choose you. Not because I have to. Not because it's strategic. But because you're the best choice I ever made, and I want to keep making it every day for the rest of my life. Claire's turn. I spent 15 years fighting to prove I was enough, smart enough, strong enough, capable enough to lead. I never stopped to ask if I was happy. Then you showed up at my birthday party, and I saw someone who wasn't trying to prove anything. Someone who just showed up and did the work and loved the people who mattered. She wiped tears from her eyes. You taught me that strength isn't about fighting alone. It's about finding someone you trust to fight beside you. Someone who sees you at your worst and chooses to stay anyway. I choose you, Noah. Not because I need you, but because I want you. Today, tomorrow, always. The minister pronounced them husband and wife. Again, for real this time. They kissed while their friends cheered, and Mia scattered actual flower petals everywhere, including in Noah's hair. The reception was simple. Food from the Thai place they loved, wine that wasn't pretentious, music from a playlist Mia had helped make that was 50% Disney songs. People danced and laughed and celebrated not just a marriage, but a family that had fought for the right to exist. As the sun set and the string lights glowed and Mia danced with her friends, Noah found Claire standing at the edge of the party, watching it all with a soft smile. Having regrets? He asked, sliding his arm around her waist. Not even one. She leaned into him. This is everything I didn't know I wanted. The ceremony or the marriage? All of it. The chaos and the mess and the unexpected joy of finding someone who actually fits. She looked up at him. I spent so long trying to fit myself into the shape my father wanted, the shape the board expected. And then I met you and realized I didn't need to fit anywhere. I just needed to be myself and find someone who loved that version. I do love that version, all the versions actually. Even when I'm being difficult, especially then, that's when you're most interesting. They stood there watching their life unfold in front of them. Mia teaching Patricia Chen how to do the floss, Noah's sister laughing at something the minister said, colleagues mingling with family in the easy way that happens when people are genuinely happy for each other. I have something for you, Claire said, pulling an envelope from somewhere in her dress. More vows. Better. She handed it to him. Open it. Inside was a deed, a property deed for a cabin in the mountains, 2 hours from the city. Small and rustic, and nothing like the mansion Claire used to live in. I bought it last month, she explained. I didn't tell you because I wanted it to be a surprise. It's ours. A place where we can go when the world gets too loud. Where Mia can run around and we can just be a family without any pressure or expectations. Noah stared at the deed. This is too much. It's exactly enough. It's a place to remember who we are when we're not being CEO and consultant and all the roles we play, just Noah and Claire and Mia, just us. He pulled her close and kissed her like it was the first time and the 1,000th time all at once. Thank you. Thank you for saying yes, both times. The party continued late into the evening. People left gradually, hugging and congratulating and promising to get together soon. Patricia Chen was the last to leave, and she hugged Claire tightly before going. Your father would be proud, she said. I'm not so sure about that. I am. Not because you saved his company, but because you built a life. That's harder and more important, and he never figured it out. Patricia smiled. You're better than he was, Claire. Don't forget that. After everyone left, the three of them collapsed on the back porch, surrounded by the debris of celebration. Mia was half asleep in Claire's lap. Noah had his arm around both of them. The string light still glowed overhead. Best day ever, Mia mumbled. Yeah? Claire stroked her hair. Better than Disney World? Way better, because you're both here. She yawned. Are we a real family now? We've always been a real family, sweetheart. This just made it official. Good. I like being official. Another yawn. Can we have pancakes tomorrow? We can have whatever you want. Mia fell asleep right there, and Noah carefully carried her inside to bed. When he came back, Claire was still on the porch, looking out at their yard, their house, their life. What are you thinking about? Noah asked. How different this is from what I imagined. 6 months ago, if someone had told me I'd be sitting here, married to a logistics worker with a stepdaughter who loves elephants, living in a house that's always messy, turning down corporate expansion to have dinner with my family, I would have thought they were insane. Are you disappointed? I'm grateful. I'm so incredibly grateful. She turned to look at him. I thought success meant being the biggest, the most powerful, the most feared. But real success is this: coming home to people who love you, building something that matters, choosing happiness over ambition. Noah sat beside her, pulled her close. For what it's worth, I think you can have both. You're still an incredible CEO. You're still leading and innovating and making a difference. You just learned to do it without sacrificing everything else. I had a good teacher. We taught each other. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars come out over their backyard. In the house, Mia slept peacefully. In the city, Holloway Freight ran smoothly under Claire's leadership. In a courtroom somewhere, James Carver was facing consequences for his choices. And in a few months, Noah's distribution reforms would be industry standard, changing how logistics companies operated across the country. But right now, none of that mattered as much as this moment. Two people who'd married as strangers, fought as partners, and chosen each other as everything that came after. So what happens now? Claire asked. We've defeated the bad guy, saved the company, renewed our vows. What's the next chapter? We live it. We wake up tomorrow and make pancakes. We go to work and come home. We have good days and bad days and ordinary days. We watch Mia grow up. We argue about whose turn it is to do dishes. We build a life that's boring and beautiful and completely ours. Claire smiled. That sounds perfect. It won't always be easy. Nothing worth having is easy, but it'll be real. That's what matters. They stayed on the porch until the string lights flickered out and the night grew cold. Then they went inside to the house that was finally home, to the life they'd built from a joke that wasn't a joke, from a contract that became a choice, from survival that turned into love. In the bedroom, getting ready for bed, Claire paused while taking off her rings. All three of them now, the Walmart band, the real one, and the new one from the ceremony. I'm keeping these on, she said. All of them. They tell the whole story. The whole story? Where we started, what we survived, who we chose to be. She slipped them back on. Every ring matters. Every choice matters. Every moment of saying yes when it would have been easier to say no. Noah looked at his own rings, the matching collection of decisions that had changed his life. I love you, Claire Holloway. I love you too, Noah Reed. She climbed into bed beside him. And I'm really glad you came to that party. Me too. Best worst decision I ever made. Worst? It seemed like a terrible idea at the time. Turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. They fell asleep tangled together, in a house full of love and chaos, in a life neither of them had planned but both of them had chosen. And down the hall, Mia slept with her elephants, dreaming of a future that was certain and safe and full of two parents who loved her enough to fight for the right to be her family. The joke that crossed the line had become a life that mattered. The marriage built on survival had become a partnership built on choice. And the single dad who showed up to drop off a report had become the husband, the father, the partner who showed up every single day after. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Because that's what love looked like when you stripped away everything else, showing up, choosing each other, building something real, again and again and again, for as long as they both lived.